I lay on the makeshift fur bed I made myself last night, resting on my stomach lazily with a good size of the pelt over the top of me, hands crossed under my chin as I watched the early morning birds peck at the scraps I left. On my cooking stone, dancing around and merrily eating what little I left behind. The fire has long smoldered out, and everything around me is dewy with early morning moisture. Everything's still and peaceful, in the morning glow of a newly rising sun, and oddly still. I made it through another night, and I'm still here, waking with a better mood with every day this pans out. I didn't find a cave or shelter last night, so curled up in the bare pelt that took me a full 4 days to scrape and clean and dry out in the sun on the hottest rocks I could find. I'm no expert in tanning or preserving pelts, but it works enough, even if it's a bit stiff and smelly, and it's worth lugging with me every day, despite the added bulk and weight. I sliced it into 4 manageable sizes for rolling and binding on my back, 2 for under me at night, spread out like a thin mattress with some comfort. 1 rolls up as a makeshift pillow, be it a stiff one, and is currently off to one side, and the largest piece I flip fur down and lay over me as a weatherproof blanket, covering on top of the single blanket I carry with me. It keeps me dry anyway, because I don't need the warmth, but I do like the coziness it provides me. Even in caves, it gives me a sense of security, and not feeling as exposed when caught in a black surround made of slightly rough fur. I've been sleeping a little better since that battle. I don't know if it's because I learned something about my own strength and it boosted my confidence, or if it was just having some slight comfort to use as bedding, and the knowledge I did this all by myself that helps me sleep a little easier. My senses are not as unstable and panic-wired lately, and I feel less on edge. I mean, I still keep one eye open at all times and stay alert, but I'm not as nervy as I was, and I don't feel quite so bereft in terms of low mood. I feel capable, like I've gotten through the worst, and I know I can do this. A newfound self-respect in my own capability. That's changing my whole outlook. Maybe skinning a bear and dealing with that disgustingness showed me I have way more stomach than I thought I did. I'm learning to turn at will too, improving that ability, and can almost turn in my sleep now without a second thought. Easy as breathing the more I do it, and I can sustain it for longer as my stamina builds. I can even turn singular parts like my hand, without a full body turn, which means I'm gaining the control I needed, like Colton, who uses his eyes to warn when he doesn't want to use his alpha gift. Or turn fully. I'm learning how to do it. I can physically feel when I make my eyes change now. The weird thing though is my paws and stomach. They seem to be whiter than I remember. With each turn, and without a mirror to fully inspect myself, I can't tell if I am losing gray. It sounds stupid, but I think my gray fur is falling out or getting lighter and I don't know why. My legs, I'm certain were fully gray, but now my feet are white too. And I don't know if maybe I just remember them dirty, or it was dark the first time I turned, but they're snow white now. I yawn and stretch out lazily, rolling over under my makeshift cocoon, the rough fur grazing my naked skin in an oddly comforting way, and turn to gaze up at the clear sky this morning. Almost tropical blue and cloudless with no hints of bad weather or rain like a few days back. A great day for an early start, and as I've come up against some uphill terrain in a pretty thick part of forest, I should savor some of this before I hit the shadows of the canopy. It's dusky and gloomy in the dense parts, and I like to find clearings to settle at night so I can wake with the light. I made a direction change after I set off from my bare battlefield too. Maybe it was the newfound self-confidence in my abilities. Maybe it was the adrenaline clouding my brain. But I decided to embrace my gut instinct and head east, just like my gut kept telling me to do. It's not like I have anyone dictating otherwise, or any destination I am aiming for. It paid off, and after I did a spot check tree climb, to see which direction the mountain lay, I surveyed the land and noted that south was taking me towards clear landscape, fields, and open lands with the hints of a town or city ahead. East was taking me into the mountains, with dense woods, a lot of lower hills and cliffs, scattered in continuous canopy cover, and a lot of forest to get lost in. I don't want to be among people if I can help it, so my decision was made. East it was, and since then I feel strangely peaceful. It's like the stirring, aching feelings were not all about Colton and home and being alone. As soon as I hit my new direction, something inside of me stopped preying on my thoughts, constantly filling me with a sense of wrong and despair. It's almost like I answered something that had been bugging me, which it does. Even if I'm no longer heading away from the mountain, but sort of parallel to it now, I feel like I'm far enough that I will never accidentally stray into the path of a Santo, even if they do come miles for whatever reason. It's a big world, and it would be minimal for a chance encounter. There's no wind today, and I have enough scraps from a deer I felled last night for a breakfast. I smoked a lot of the leftover through the night in a makeshift canopy I stuck over the fire and let some dry out in the sun before it went down. So I don't need to stop for food today at all. I can eat the semi-cured or dried meats and push on. I also packed enough raw in my backpack for later. Now I have a goal in mind and a new plan I'm raring to go. The sense of feeling lost is momentarily quiet, and it's a good feeling to have respite in some small way. Last tree I climbed, I caught onto a large, distant mountain, not too dissimilar to ours, with a base dipped in the luscious green of the forest kissing its feet. I want to get there. The trek looks a couple of days, and in the woods as dense as this, I can hyperspeed with no fear of being seen. There are no people, but the trees are so closely grown that I may have to take detours into clearings to push through some of it to proceed in that direction. It's proper wild land, not man-planted and spaced out, and barely grazed by human intervention. Perfect for a lone wolf who wants to disappear into oblivion, never to be found again. The mountain is the goal, and I hope when I get there, I can find a more permanent dwelling so I can start improving my home comforts. I'm capable of being crafty with my hands, and if I find a cave big enough, I might be able to fashion some necessary things, like clay pots, maybe a chair from woven branches. The more I can make my final landing spot seem half civilized, maybe the more certain of my future I will be. Eventually the homesickness will stop, and maybe one day thinking about him will go away too. I can't deny I've still cried in low points and woken with him in my dreams. His touch on my skin, his lips on mine, his voice bringing me home. Those have been the hardest points, where I woke with longing, to find he wasn't really here and reality slapped me in the face. The sound of him still lingering in my mind and weakening me to want me to reach out and link him. Just to hear that sultry, husky, reassuring tone for real, it would break me for a moment. I'd cry it out, and then feel numb for a while until the sun came up and reminded me why I should only hate him and never give him more than my anger. So far, I've retained the strength to not open the link and just touch him, even for a tiny fraction of a second. I don't want to feel him in my head, because if I do, my strength will evaporate, and I might give up entirely at a time I'm only starting to come into my own. I need to stay strong for myself. I'm not going to lie and say I don't miss a real home, beds, carpets, and all the luxuries of the valley. But I'm free. I can go where I want, answer to no one, and it's not like I have any sort of desire to find a mate now, so there's no point in being around wolves. My heart will always belong to him, even if he's denied it and moved on. I would rather be alone than lie about my love for someone new, just to have company. Resigned myself to the fact I'll love him until I pass, no matter how many years that takes. I make swift work of getting up and pulling my now dry clothes off the rocks. I washed everything yesterday and slept naked in my fur bed, in the hopes of feeling less grubby today, less scraping by, and more pulled together. washed myself head to foot with the last of my soap, braided my hair into 2 plaits hanging down each side of my head to let it dry. I was starting to feel scruffy and feral lately and needed to remind myself that I'm still part human and the little things like grooming can make a world of difference. I feel somehow determined and cleaner, like I have an actual purpose. I pack my things, roll up my furs, and eat some of my dried meats as I encase them in large leaves to get ready to go. Binding and tying everything in, and to the backpack with vines I corded yesterday, and drag it all on my back, bouncing the weight up to adjust the straps, and reacclimatizing to the weight. My sneakers are getting scuffed and worn, and soon I might have to start finding tree sap to make minor repairs to make them last, or venture towards the human spots in time. To use what money I have for something longer lasting. I didn't expect them to start giving out quite so soon. And in hindsight, I should have brought boots and not these when going off-grid. That's the only downside to all this. The human part has certain requirements that nature won't provide unless I get creative. Shoes are not in my skill set, and I'm not sure my human feet could handle the debris of forest floor without them. I would have to turn to go any distance and probably pull 1,000 pieces of grit and broken wood out of my feet every night. I fill my belly with meat and water and head off, leaving no trace behind me after scattering the remnants of my fire and burying the ash. It's something my father always ingrained into me, that when you leave a camp it should bear no evidence you were ever there. We should respect nature and leave it as untouched as we found it. I'm always careful to bury or burn the carcasses of my kills, clean the blood from where I skin them or eat them, and keep everything neat and clean. It's served me well so far. Mentally I feel lighter, not that any of my previous wants and desires or heartbreak is forgotten, but I'm getting better at handling it. My dreams, they vary but always around the same things, and I'm still dreaming of Sierra most nights. I thought it would have faded onto something new by now, but she's persistent, and since I started turning east, it's almost like the dream becomes more prominent, the vision stronger. Last night, I swear I could smell scent in the white space around me, smell her, and it had a familiarity I couldn't quite put my finger on, like a long-lost distant memory, always out of reach, and it gave me a headache trying to claw for it when I woke up in the night, at the utterance of her same old 2-word command. If I didn't know better, I would think I know how she smells, but maybe it's from distant memory when she used to read at the library when I was very little, and I somehow retained it, and her voice, like Colton's yet not, which lingers hauntingly, so equally known to me. Save us. It's only ever that. Nothing else. The weirdest thing I've started to notice about the dream is in it. I'm not as I am now. I've looked down, seen my own hands while in the white room, when she clasps them in hers. My hands are that of a child, small, delicate, dwarfed in hers, which makes even less sense to me. I guess though, like the lost, almost forgotten sense of familiar smell and sound, maybe the dream too is a nod that this all comes at me from way back as a child. And I've forgotten, confused into a senseless moment, reminding me I did once upon a time know who she was. I have all but given up trying to dissect the meaning though, as there doesn't seem to be one. I come to a relative clearing in the wood on my path, hot and achy from covering miles of ground in fast mode, and stop to catch my breath. I drop my bags by sliding them from tired shoulders with a heavy thud and stretch my body out with an amazing amount of crunching and cracking in the depths of my skin and bones. It feels good, despite the worrying noises. Extending my arms fully and stretching out, extending fingers and limbs to full capacity, making an arch sound as I do so. Relieved to lose that weight and able to straighten up without it. I curve my spin and bend my neck from side to side, glad to be free, cracking it satisfyingly. I roll my shoulders and pace around the clearing to make sure it's a safe spot to stop, eyes darting, ears honed in. I can hear water nearby and walk into the tree line by a few feet, until I find a tiny, shallow, bubbling brook heading downhill. I take my fill quickly, still cursing the fact I broke my water bottle a week back and have no way to carry any, and head back to my bags, pulling out my smoked meat and slump on the floor while chewing on it to take in my surroundings. The sun is really high, so it must be around noon now. The heat of the day at its strongest. There are birds circling in the sky above, adding a pleasant peaceful calm to the not-so-quiet of the day. Rustling wind, so gentle it's barely there, as it sends the leaves swaying on the branches around and above me. Small forest animals chatter busily, sing and chirp, in the distance around me, while the nearest remain silent as they watch me and try to second-guess if I'm a threat. I can almost hear and feel the wildlife paused in their tracks, eyeing me up, little hearts beating fast to see who this stranger is among them. That's the one good thing to come from all of this. My senses, my instincts, my wolf side, she's growing and developing fast, and I couldn't ever have come this far so naturally if I was still back in the Santo pack house. I know I'm changing, becoming self-dependent, so sure of myself as the days roll by, less convinced I'm a failure and afraid of my own shadow now. I feel like this experience, it's doing something for me that no time in the valley could have. It's taking my wolf and bonding us as one, instead of just being another part of me that occasionally shows up. I guess I'm finally seeing and feeling what it is Colton mastered in his own abilities and embracing my other side. No longer two halves battling for one space, but instead merging together to fluidly flow from one to the other in the blink of an eye. Maybe I had to lose Colton to find myself, to learn what I was capable of and harnessing it alone. Maybe that was always the fate's plan, teaching me a lesson and setting me on a path. Maybe right now, he has his own new direction, his own new strengths that came from our brief crossing of paths. Maybe he was always meant to lose me to find himself too, like somehow this is some small detail in a bigger plan, and our hearts may have been broken. But in the bigger scheme of things, it was necessary for something else. Maybe Carmen was always his destiny, and they gave him the strength to betray our bond for that reason. Who knows? I don't think I ever will. I don't think I will ever find the ability to forgive him for it either. Even if it was all in the fate's crazy master plan. Maybe I'm trying to find a reason to justify all of this, because I was always taught that the fates are never wrong. They always have a purpose for everything they do, even if we can't see it. Even leaving lonely little girls as unseen shadows in homes for unwanteds, and then showing her a light of hope before crushing it in her face and throwing it far away. I don't dwell for long. I know if I do, the bitterness, the sadness, and anger, it starts to consume me and destroy my mood. I have to move and find somewhere to settle tonight, before the dark moves in, and I want some hours of daylight to properly set up my bed. Find leaves and dried grass to pad it first. It's become a ritual daily to help keep me sane. One thing I'm finding is instrumental to my mental well-being, is taking the time to make my camp comfortable and a little homely and have some downtime before dusk. I sleep better, which helps my overall emotional state. I get up and gaze around, slightly disorientated from walking in circles and going off to find water, and decide to check my directional progress before I keep moving. I've covered some distance and want to keep that huge dark mountain in the far distance as my central point to aim for. If I have a plan that I don't sway from, it helps me stay focused. I look up at the trees, walking clockwise in my clearing to find the tallest and thickest of them to climb. It's better to have one with a substantial trunk right up to the top, so I can get above the canopy and peruse my land. It's not hard to climb when you have claws and super strength to aid you, and a complete lack of aversion to heights that I didn't know I possessed. I pick one and waste no time kicking off my shoes to turn hands and feet into sharp climbing accessories and scale all the way to the top in the blink of an eye. Lycanthrope have many skills that natural wolves don't, and this is one of them. I push my head up through the leaves, breaking through easily, And even with this beast swaying as I scale to its terrifying height, I cling on and look out over what I can now see. The trees up here form an almost solid carpet surface that looks like you should be able to step out and walk across. All swaying in waves and dips on the wind up here, like a mass-moving green surface on water, with more texture. It's definitely not as gentle when you're this high, and it's almost mesmerizing to watch. The lay of many shades of greens, moving to browns, and some yellows. The peaks of the odd rock formation or small hill and the sporadic clearing. It's a sight that's not comparable to anything else. And I revel in its beauty for a moment. The sun fully warming my head and face. The mountains in the distance are so faint. They almost look light gray. And as I turn to see where I came from, it's weird to note my own mountain is now also of a similar color and distance away, but also surrounded by a fog that makes it almost invisible across the large expanse. I get that same aching quench of gut twist when I look at it and shake my head, bringing my focus back to my new destination in a bid to combat those feelings. No time to dwell on where I've been, when I should only focus on where I'm going, gazing back at my new mountain thoughtfully. Something catches the corner of my eye and makes me turn instinctively. The sun dazzles a little speck, a tiny flicker of white spark which seems to bounce at me across to the right, but when I turn to look properly, I can't see where it came from. The trees sway, covering any chance of seeing it at first. I wait with held breath for the sway back again, wondering if I imagined it, but there it is, a little flicker of reaction in a pop of clearing, almost like a light, shining Morse code sparkles at me, and then it's gone as the trees sway back again. The organic flow of their movement closing and opening the gap where it peaks out. I focus on it, waiting for the movement of wind to show me it again. And this time, I hone my eyesight on what it might be. Holding myself as steady as I can on my own moving perch, I catch the tip of what looks like some sort of pole or mast, and when the wind kicks a bit harder, the leaves part wider for a second. And I catch the top of something flat and dark gray, just below whatever is catching the light, and then it's covered again. No matter how long I perch here watching, it's the most I can see, and I start to wonder what it is. It's man-made for sure, but I don't know if it's a mast, a building, or some sort of rural construction used by power companies, or maybe something else. Curiosity is piqued for sure, as it's not far from the path I plan on taking, and now I want to know if I'm straying into human territory, in a place that seemed idyllic and people-free. I sigh in exasperation, looking towards the mountain then back to my little flashing light, head forming so many questions and doubts and try to see something I just can't. It might be a supply post, seeing as we are well off the beaten track and people do that. I've heard of it, seen it on TV, and saw them in the books in the school library. Rural buildings sat lone and open, filled with survival kits for lost hikers, injured campers, especially in winter. I mean, this place is nestled in a real dense part of the forest, absolutely miles into the center of a massive overgrown part of the area. It could be a supply hut, with dried foods, supplies, maybe even shoes and water bottles. I look down at the ground far below me as though thinking about the possibility of what I might salvage there. Something in my gut, urging me to go investigate. It wouldn't be a bad thing to pick up items I could use, if that is what it is. I can't imagine it would be anything other than a hut or a mast. It couldn't hurt. I mean, I'm not exactly on a schedule, and if I get close and it's not occupied or not a supply hut, and just a mast or something pointless, it'll remove any suspicion of people running into me. It might be nothing more than an unmanned power plant building, and I might gain nothing more than a few hours wasted on a detour. If it's manned, then I get the hell away from it. Change path and head for the mountain at a faster pace and hope they never venture the way I'm going. It might still be a source to swipe some essentials though. My gut says go, and without stopping to debate it any longer, something inside of me egging me on, I slide down the tree to go recover my things, and see what is out there in my new discovery. I sit watching from my safe distance and secluded peeking spot at the large singular building, nestled in an unnatural clearing, surrounded by 10 feet of barbed wire fencing that stretches all the way around, save for a set of very large gates at the far side. There are dirt tracks showing signs of infrequent visits from off-road vehicles leading up to it. Coming from the south, and I'm perched here for watching for signs of life for an hour now, as I try to figure out if it's safe to get closer. It took the rest of the day to get here, following an imaginary line from my previous camp spot, in the general direction and sticking to hyperspeed for most. I'm tired, my back agony from keeping on trekking at an hour I've grown accustomed to being the settling down and making camp stage, sweating, breathless, hot and sticky, and currently sat on my backpack as I try to figure out how stupid I would be if I went and further investigated. There's no signs of life, no new tracks, or lingering sense of anyone being around the perimeter from this distance. It seems silent, but then it's a large white windowless building with a rough cast of fine white stone, and looks exceptionally clean for being out here in the middle of no man's land. It has an aura of mystery, and my gut is telling me to be wary, even if it's also urging me to investigate. The mast on top is a huge metallic construction, like the Eiffel Tower almost, and sits on the roof of. It's a custom platform, stretching some 30 feet upwards. I thought at first it was a telecom mast, or maybe power. But there's nothing connecting to what looks like a radio antenna coming from the top of it. There's a generator steel box, almost half the size of the building, within the compound, yet sat apart from it. And it's humming on low within its own encasement, suggesting this building has constant power. There's something off, even if on the surface, it looks how I imagine an unmanned power plant substation would look. And despite that, my inner weird voice that kept pushing me east, it's telling me to get closer. My own mind and instincts battling with what to do, and it's why I've sat here staring at it for so long. The sensible part is screaming danger. The less logical me is telling me how harmless this looks, and that there are no signs of life at all. The weak part of me is aching for some sort of connection to civilization, and a longing to touch something real and man-made after so many weeks alone. It just reminds me that, despite doing better, I've been crushingly lonely still. I can't see any way in from this angle, so the door must face those giant gates, which means it only has one entrance and nothing else. Not exactly a layout for any kind of worrying military base. I mean, it's not even that big. At most, you could park 2 of the Santo trucks inside. So I doubt it homes any more than some power grid equipment for maybe some of the further rural homes. Maybe it's a radio station with sporadic visits or something. I don't have a clue, as it's hardly my area of expertise. It's not big enough to be anything much else. The point is, after an hour sat here, I haven't gotten any signs of life, or any reason to not go and have a closer look. And the only thing stopping me is my own terrified level of suspicion. I'm being overly cautious, my feeble side wading in, and even the wind blowing this way is picking up on no human scent in any way. It seems completely deserted. I can see cameras at the corners of the building on this side, and they probably have them at the front too. But they are all pointing down at the ground within the fences, so I can at least get that close without being caught on them. I guess they're to pick up on wildlife getting in. Or something. I might see more if I go around the other side and figure out what it is. It might have signs, or maybe hazard warnings, if it is just a power plant. If I know for sure, then I can stop tiptoeing around and relax. I exhale heavily, wiping the rolling beads of moisture from my brow, and look up at the fading light in the graying sky. I should find a place to make camp and stop wasting what daylight I have left. Come back in the morning, but that means trekking further, as this is the first clearing I've come across in hours. There's nothing nearby that looks like a good place to set up, so maybe I might have to sacrifice a comfy night and roll up in the bear fur right here. I can't think of anything else to do. It's either go check this out and then walk on when I know what it is, and if I can salvage anything, or camp and look at it in the new day. I'm exhausted, really need to eat, and I don't have the energy to do much of anything. I get up, mind in two halves, and pull my backpack up with me, lugging its heavy weight as I try to make a decision. I don't want to be out in the open when darkness falls, as despite not picking up on any creatures of the night, I can't be sure there aren't any lurking in caves, or underground tunnels of which I have come across many these past days. I remember the stories that the vampires came out of the ground during the war. I would just prefer to stick to my usual plan of picking a site and staying there until dawn. I don't wander far, realizing it's wall-to-wall close-knit trees in all directions, but one moving towards the building. It really is the only part here that has space to even lay down, and I'm not about to sleep in the clearing near it. I doubt any passing big cat, bear or such, spends much time walking its perimeter. So I make the decision to pick a tree with great leaf cover and climb one. It's better than being a sitting duck on the forest floor, and I doubt I'll get any real sleep when I haven't found a good place to hide out. Up a tree, I can tie myself to the trunk, and at least doze off and on through the night, and wait to investigate this in the morning. It'll give me a little security, and at least up high, I can defend myself if needs be. I end up walking a full circle and finding the right kind of trees nearer the main gates of the building. Ones with wide bases, multiple branches from midway up, with extra amounts of foliage and twisting crisscrossing boughs for platforms. I squeeze between two that are close together. About 20 feet up their branches merge and curl to make an extra wide landing place, and have to haul myself up with my backpack on, finding it a little more labor-intensive than normal. When I get up there, I manage to find a flat enough spot that with one of my pelts rolled out, I snuggle into a dip between two parallel boughs and can properly lay down, without having to anchor myself to anything. I hang my backpack on a broken stump on the trunk and lay out on top of my makeshift bed, stretching and wriggling to see how comfy I can get, satisfied that this isn't too bad as long as it doesn't get windy or rain tonight. I don't want to unroll pelts that could slide off if I roll in my sleep and draw attention to lurking wildlife. I won't have a fire to keep some of the natural creatures at bay up here, so I have to make do with cold meat, a bumpy bed, and the rustling and swaying of the trees to lull me into slumber. Not that I think it'll be an issue, as now I'm up here, my eyes are heavy, and my brain cloudy with fatigue. It's been a long day. I sit and watch the building through the foliage for a while, sat at my safe distance, watching as the shadows lengthen and become part of the dark surroundings as light fades fast. I'm already exhausted from my extended trekking, so settling down and beginning to drift off is easier than usual. Not the usual spew of weighty things on my mind to keep me awake, and it feels like only seconds of blinking and drowsiness before I zone out. I wake with a start, jumping slightly and sitting up fast, banging my head on rough wood and silently yelping as I properly come to. I must have drifted into a deeper sleep so fast, because it was a second ago. I could still see my hand in front of me, and now I'm in utter pitch darkness and can't even make out what I'm sitting on. Disorientated at first, until I remember where I am and how I got here, and my belly rumbles, because I didn't eat. I woke with a fright for sure, and my heart is thundering through my chest as my nocturnal eyesight kicks into touch, clawing the area around me frantically into focus. I'm not sure exactly what woke me yet, and I slowly sit up, sliding my legs up, my knees touching my chest as I rub my now bruised, lumpy forehead while scanning my surroundings for a cause, taking deep breaths to calm down and center myself, letting my senses take over, rather than my scared brain. It doesn't take me long to see what brought me around once I settle down and actually look. There's a shiny black truck parked in the undergrowth beside the fence, nearer the back of the building where I first stood. It's about 10 feet further down the makeshift road. They must have just pulled up. Maybe the noise and headlights are what roused me to alert, and I watch with held breath as someone slides out and makes their way around the fence to find the entrance. An eerie solitary figure shrouded in darkness. It's both a joy to see another person, but also a massive alarming worry that I'm seeing another person. They, much like the truck, are all in black, wearing a hood pulled over their head so I can't see their face at all, but I can tell it's male, tall, stocky. And as he moves around the gate with his focus on his task, eerily quiet on his feet, the wind picks up gently and blows this way, guiding his scent towards me, and I recoil in utter shock, like someone tasered my ass. He's wolf. Like me. There's no denying that very specific scent we all carry. And it red alerts me and wakes up my brain immediately. I have no idea why the hell a lycanthrope would be manning a power plant in the middle of the forest. I mean, maybe it's not that big a deal. Some packs live and work in the human world and have regular jobs as they try to pass off as one of them. This could be a guy who works for the power company, and for some reason likes to frequent his unmanned building in the middle of the night. I'm sure that's probably a normal thing for unconventional hours. Or maybe if he has a special task at this time of night, probably not likely. And it's too weird that all the way out here, alone for weeks on end, the first person I come in contact with is one of my kind. It's a little too coincidental, especially as I came here after following some deeper gut feeling and stupid dreams of Sierra Santo. I watch, squinting through the foliage, as I try to see his progress and get a better look. But the gates are obscured from my angle, and he disappears behind trees that sit between us, and out of sight. I don't want to lose track of him in case he somehow heads in here without me seeing and shows up at the foot of my tree. I doubt. I would be a welcome discovery. I don't hesitate. I slide off my perch, silently climb down the tree, and crawl closer until I can see him again from another angle, ducking down behind a rock and keeping low. My senses are on major high alert, and I'm taking comfort in the fact the wind is blowing this way. So he won't smell me the way I did him. I'm relatively safe from this distance. If he doesn't see me moving around, I have to creep on all fours, keeping still and wedging in behind a fallen log to get a better look as I track him. By the time I figure out where he is, eyes scanning the fence and truck, he's already inside the compound and up against the door. He moves fast, and it just confirms that he's one of my kind. I hear a beep, a click, like he opened something, or had some sort of key, and the door slides to the side in front of him. It doesn't open out like I expected, but more like something of an elevator door that slides out of sight, back on itself, which is weird for a low-tech building. From here I can see inside though, and there doesn't seem to be anything at all in the doorway, making it all even weirder. It looks like an empty concrete box, and no big inside room, or control panels, or anything from what I can peer into. That just makes the sliding door stranger if it's concealing nothing. I move a little closer still, not convinced. I'm getting a full picture hitting the last line of trees before the clearing, and stand tall to sideslide behind one and peek around. I know it's stupid getting this near to him, but I can't see, and this place has me so confused as to what its purpose is or what its importance is to my instincts. He walks inside, turns, and faces something to the left, just behind where the door is. He leans in, ducking slightly so his face comes level with an out-of-sight panel. It's me. I'm back. Bring me down. A low growl to his masculine tone, most definitely a wolf. I can just tell. He stands tall and turns to face the open front door. My heart rate escalating as nerves consume me, and my body begins to tremble. I swear for a second. I think he looks right at me and I dive back, flattening my back to the bark and close my eyes, as though somehow that'll make me invisible. I'm not sure though. as he didn't seem to react at all, and I'm probably being paranoid because I'm scared. There's a crunching noise. The humming of the generator revs up in ferocity, and the whole building emits a long grunting moan. I peek back, holding my breath to steady my shaking self, quick enough to see the door beginning to slide shut as he slowly lowers down below the level he's standing on. It clicks instantly that the floor is moving, and he's going down, like some sort of elevator for sure. And it explains why. On the surface, there's no sign of life and the building is small. It's deceptive, and the sliding door, it conceals a car-sized transport to a lower level. That means whatever is down there is big enough to accommodate vehicles should they need to be taken down. And that makes my blood run cold. I don't think it's any kind of power plant, and I shouldn't be here at all. It obviously has more going on below, and now I know a wolf is manning this station. Then I have absolutely no chance of finding anything worthy of stealing and getting away without a trace. Not that I want to anymore. Everything inside of me is telling me this is a bad idea, and I need to get far away from this place as soon as humanly possible. When the door fully closes, I walk out in front of the tree where I've been hiding and peer over it where he left his truck, wondering if he maybe left anything of value there. If I'm cutting my losses and running, then he might have something. He didn't lock it, and he was alone. Maybe a medipack, food, clothes, or something that I can use. He obviously isn't coming out right away. And I should make the most of his absence before he does come back. He might not stay, and judging by the fact abandoned his truck and never brought it into the compound. I don't think he is. I have to be quick and go. I run along the tree line, keeping to the inner side, and within its shadow, and make a dash for his truck, using hyperspeed to get to it fast, and peek inside when I slide up against the door on the far side from the building. It's an off-road 4x4, covered in mud and debris. I can tell right away there's nothing in it at all. Not even general trash, or even anything in view that I would want. It's clean and free of anything worthwhile. Not what I would expect for a truck with frequent use, so it makes this even weirder. He obviously doesn't use it all too much to come and go. One last fleeting run over with my eyes, convinced he has nothing of worth. I dash back to the closest border of brush and start making my way back to my own temporary camp without looking back. This time keeping behind the trees by 2 rows. My breathing labored with the heavy weight of mounting panic, growing inside of me like a warning signal, heartbeat pounding in my ears as it batters my rib cage and adds to my terror. I don't feel safe this close anymore, and I should never have ventured to find this building. I don't know what I was thinking. And the last thing I need are complications from wolves and James Bond-type buildings in the middle of forests. This has spy movie all over it, and I'm in no mood to be dangled headfirst over a vat of sharks for information I don't have. When the noise of the building cranks up again, I don't know if it's the floor moving up again to reset, or if he's coming back. It stops me in my tracks, and I instinctively drop to the dirt and turn around. I crouch where I am, and watch, waiting with held breath, peering through the trunks and bushes to see the door, until the moaning cranking noise of heavy innards moving comes to a halt. Yet the door doesn't open. Nothing happens at all, except the return to a previous hum. I don't think it was him. I think maybe the floor comes up again when they reach a destination, and I relax a little, blowing out my air with relief. Moving again from this tree base to the next, to make my way back to my perch. I almost make it all the way in when another loud thumping noise pauses me in my tracks and makes me look back nervously. So jumpy and on edge, with all my senses kicking into a higher mode of efficiency. This time the noises are less intense, less mechanical, and more like regular people noises. The building appears to be coming to life as it increases. The doors make swooshing noise, but nothing seems to open. There's a bang, sliding of maybe bolts, I can't tell. A beep, a whoosh, like the noise a piston makes, and then I can make out the swing of a heavy metal door and gravel rolling and sliding from it. Lights flick on all around me, so suddenly from concealed posts further out in the trees it makes me jump. My heart misses a beat, and frozen ice flares in my veins, and I find myself illuminated in the previously dark space. Blinded by the sudden solar strength, blazing pain that hits me in the eyeballs, I start blinking, shielding my eyes as my nocturnal vision craps out and gives me an instant headache like a rabbit caught in the headlights. I wasn't expecting this entire area to be brightened up like standing under a sun lamp at close range and pull my wits back around me. I dart as fast as I can for the nearest sign of darkness and hope they didn't see me. The lights must be extended above the canopy on masts, further out that I didn't see, as everything around me is brighter than daylight, and I have no one direction to go to that will get me out of it faster. The entire space is bright as hell. I run heading towards my mountain in the far distance and concentrate on nothing else except escape. Screw my backpack and furs. I don't need them right now. I sprint, dodging, jumping, clearing fallen logs as twigs and leaves scratch my face and hands and rip at my skin in passing. Breathing labored and loud, panting. I aim for the shadows, not looking back in case this is because of me, that maybe he did see me out there, and whatever this place is, no one is meant to know. I put my head down and hyper-speed the best to my ability. Only just make it to a skidding halt into darker bushes, when an alarming piercing noise fills the air around me. It has a horrible effect on my body and senses, rattling my brain inside my skull as my physical self crunches up, instantly immobile, and I grab my ears. It's a siren, honking hard and loud, in a pitch that causes me physical pain with its sheer volume, echoing in the air and making the surroundings shudder in trembling response. My heart elevates until I think my chest is going to explode. My body straining to turn to wolf to get away faster, but I don't let it. I need to keep these clothes more than ever now, and I need to get back to my tree to grab my stuff and go at some point too. My gut tells me to abandon it all. Forget about the clothes issue for now, and just run. But my logic is telling me to calm down and halt and rationalize about this, and stop reacting, that they couldn't have seen me, as the cameras point down, and I didn't venture near the fences, that he maybe just looked my way. But I saw no sign of reaction or recognition that someone was out here. This could just be coincidence, and something they do, even without someone like me lurking nearby. They couldn't know I was there if there even was a they. And what really would they react like this for? What could they possibly be hiding that a young girl like me posed a threat against? That wolf. He might have been solitary, although he did talk to someone on whatever that intercom thing was. So maybe there's only two of them, and this is still a power grid of some sort. I know a lot of that contradicts what the other parts of my brain are telling me. But self-preservation has a funny way of trying to shake you into being less manic. Lying to myself can help abate the fear and get me moving, instead of freaking out. I try to take some calming breaths as it all filters through my head. And I keep on telling myself I'm overreacting. This is just a drill, or a thing, or normal. I'm fine. I'm sure I am. The whizzing whistle of air that skids past my left ear and physically inflicts a searing pain, with the high-pitch velocity it passes me with, makes me jump sideways and crash into bushes as I run at speed. I almost swallow my own tongue and my stomach lurches, about jumps out of my body with the scare. It gives me a near heart attack, and I scramble in stinging, scratching bushes to fight my way back out. I get caught up in thorn-heavy vines and trip back over my own muddled legs. The fall makes me tumble and roll into hedgeway, knocking my shoulder on rocks and stops my scrambling for a second. I take a moment to look back at the surging sunlit bright area I left behind, gasping as I see the pouring of black-dressed men coming from some ground-level hatch near the main door, like a concealed lid lifted from the gravel, and 4, maybe 5 bodies appear on the ground above. There are already 2 outside the gates, and both are facing this way, looking intensely into the wood where I ran, and pointing big-ass guns with sights trained in here. I don't know what flew past me. I don't think I want to know. And my doubt that I wasn't in any kind of danger dies an instant death, the blood draining from my body so I turn cold and statue-like as it sinks in. They are definitely looking for me. I don't stop to wait for even a blink longer. Terror, once again ripping through me at speed and activating my run like shit button. They all face this way and come thundering after me as soon as they see the rustle of the bushes I dart from. Gifts that are remarkable or not, I can smell them from here, wolves, and they are all armed. A little patrol of male wolves in black uniforms, and they're clearly coming at me. I don't care who you are, what story you're in, that never bodes well in any situation, and I don't think they're trying to invite me in for coffee and cake. I've obviously stumbled across something I shouldn't have. Pure instinct takes over, and the urge to turn is almost killing me with the rate my human body is pounding itself to shreds with sheer adrenaline. I run, I trip, I fall, and I know that human form is only slowing me down and making it more likely they catch up with me. I know only too well that wolves will not be kind and show me mercy at being caught in their lands. I have one set of clothes, and that's it. I need to think about survival now, even if that means ending up naked and backpack less miles further into the undergrowth. I just need to find another way to gather the things I need later and curse myself stupid for ever venturing this way, near this damned building. It's obviously not an inconspicuous power station. Those men were guards, and whatever they're guarding is important enough to carry weapons and stay in the multiples. I'm so goddamn stupid. Fuck you, Sierra, and your damn dreams and pushing me east. Fuck the fates. Fuck Colton for making me leave the mountain, and fuck Juan for being the root of all my woes and how shitty my life has been for a decade. This is all his fault. I turn, my inner wolf almost howling with an intense release. Glad to be free finally. Head down, clothes shredding pitifully as I leave the last of my worldly possessions in the dirt and run like the wind. Nothing else that I can do about it now, and they are in fast pursuit. I fall, wedging between trees that are too close to get through, and break free noisily with sheer strength and willpower. Wood splintering, branches crackling. But being silent is no longer my concern as the noise of their pursuit outsounds mine. I can feel them coming, hear them, smell them. I can even feel their heartbeats syncing with mine as scent follows me close on my heels. Panic spreads through my veins, and I hope that angry numb I gained with the bear kicks in soon, or else I'm screwed. I can't even stop to try and use any sort of gift right now, when I don't even know how. The last few days of trying to conjure it up proved futile. I'm scared right now, not angry, and I have no hope in hell of conjuring any other feeling. Something else whizzes over my head, like a small shooting tunnel of air that makes my hair tingle and pull in its passing. It shoots directly into the tree several feet in front of me and stabs viciously into the trunk, standing proud and straight when it comes to an instant halt. I only catch sight of it for a split second. A clear tube, filled with watery liquid, a red feather tail, embedded deeply in the rough wooden skin of the poor tree. It catches me eye, draws my attention, and before I can run past it while still trying to figure out what it is, something fires into my spine insanely stab-like, right between my shoulder blades with a stinging pain, so intense it makes me howl involuntarily. A loud wailing noise that hurts my own ears. The impact is hard, the pain unexpected, and the combination makes me trip and crash face first into the branches and rocks on the ground. I roll, hitting the rough floor of the forest like a dead weight and skid ungracefully, pulling debris and dried leaves with me, kicking up a cloud of dust and choking on it, across a tiny clearing, knocking whatever was sticking in my back off as I do so. I feel it being yanked out with a stomach-churning tug. I land on my face, legs sprawled as my body betrays me and turns back to human form without my say-so, and my eyes focus on the tiny thing only feet on front of me. Dazed, trying to catch my breath as this unearthly, warm and strange sensation pours through me from the connect spot in the center of my back. It's the same as what hit the tree. A clear tube, only empty this time, with a red brush tail, only now I can see the tip and it's long silver, extremely pointy, and looks a lot like a dart for taking large animals down. I've seen them on African game reserve documentaries. The needle is thick and huge. So no wonder it felt like something stabbed me with a big pointy object. They literally did. At bullet speed, I let out a groan and try to roll and move, aware that an empty tube suggests the contents are inside of me. I attempt to get up, but my limbs give out like useless heavy weights of flesh with no control, and my vision begins to spin. My head turning woozy as everything around me sways crazily, like I just got on the deck of a boat amid a rolling storm. I don't like this, and I can feel the thundering of feet fast approaching me as wolves' growls turn to human voices. I can make them out ever so slightly, coming at me on the gentle breeze of the rustling trees as silence begins to take over. My hearing and head fading out despite trying to fight it. I hit her. She's to the left. Split up and spread out in case we need to double dose her. I can't grasp anything as my hands claw at the dirty muck-strewn ground below me, desperate to keep trying to run. As futile as I know it is, something in me is refusing to give up the fight and urging me to get to my feet. Like a tiny warm voice in my mind, softly calling out to me, I swear. I hear Sierra, drifting my way in the wind as she reminds me of the same thing she has been saying all along. Yet it somehow means something else in my drugged stupor. Save us. I reach out to it in my oncoming delirium with weak, grasping fingers. Sure, I see her face in the canopy above. As my eyesight obscures, I can't. I'm not strong enough. It's a pathetic whisper at no one. As my eyes blur with tears at my own failure, and my heart aches that somehow I let her down, even if it makes no sense. Maybe it's the pain of failing myself. Weeks of running, hiding, and I can't do anything about what I've gotten myself into. I was stupid to think I was special. I can feel them so close now, and as I try to lift my head and shoulders up from the soggy earth in one last-ditch attempt to save myself, my vision blanks out completely, and I lose consciousness. My head aches crazy bad with the weight of that damn bear sitting on my skull. My mouth feels weird and furry like I just ate my own socks, and I blink at the bright white piercing light as I slowly try to open my eyes. Flinching at the assault and screwing my face up in reaction, my body is heavy and disconnected as I try to come to and figure out where I am and what happened to me. I feel like I just survived a train wreck, and I'm not entirely sure I'm not dead and in the afterlife waiting room. I'm completely disorientated. Everything's spinning, and I can barely move my body as though somehow I've lost use of anything but my eyelids. I feel vacuum pressed to the surface. I'm lying flat out on, and it's the most surreal sensation to wake up to. It takes a minute for my eyes to grow accustomed to the brightness of my surroundings. And much like having a torch shone in your face, it's painful at first until it starts to level out and an actual ceiling comes into focus. Watery eyes blurring to clarity and blinking repetitively to figure out what I am staring at. White square tiles and a center gray wooden fan that's on slow and hitting me with a gentle breeze. The tiles are large, grubby, and pull my focus enough to let me grasp at the reality of my situation. That I'm inside a building and no longer on the forest floor. My gut twists and my insides sink as that filters through. It all comes slowly back, the memory of eating dirt and passing out, and I try to sit hurriedly as panic comes kicking back into play. Straining with all I have in me as mild panic sets in. I can't move, a tightness across my chest, arms and legs, yanking me down painfully. And when I attempt a second time, trying to figure out what's wrong with my body, I realize it's not me. I'm restrained. It's not some weird malfunction of my body after being tranquilized at all. I manage to tilt my chin, still woozy, but able to drag the exaggerated weight of my skull up enough to look down my body and exhale at the sight I see. Laid out flat on a hospital bed of some sort, dressed in a light medical gown. There are leather straps across me at several points of my torso and legs, keeping me taped down, and both my ankles and wrists are shackled in wide black fabric to the sidebars of the bed. The guards are up, holding me in place, and try as I can to wriggle, I can barely move an inch. They're tight, thick, and impenetrable while I'm in human form. I turn my head to the side, dizziness making everything sway, getting a blank white painted brick wall, and turn the other way, opening up my view into a small medical room, brick all around, no windows, and one white door closed shut with nothing but a high square glass panel in the upper half. There are cupboards, trolleys, and worktops in here, with all manners of medical kits and supplies. Some posters on the walls that remind me of the doctor's surgery in Radstone, and an array of panels up near the door that look pretty high-tech. The floor is vinyl tiled in a weird blue-gray. And apart from the information posters on dressing wounds, the predominant color in here is white. It's stark, stinks of disinfectant, and has the usual low hum of electrical outlets and the whirring fan over my head. It's almost eerily silent and deserted. But I know that's far from reality. There is nothing overly out of place for a sick room that causes me any extra alarm. I mean, it's not like I'm waking up mid-body slicing in an alien abduction story. I feel nauseous, my heart pounding through my ears already, even without the added anxiety of me waking up and finding myself captive in a strange place. I'm obviously inside the building now, somewhere below ground, and I have no chance in hell of getting off this bed. My energy levels are low as hell. I can't get up, probably not even without the straps, while I haven't come all the way to out of my drugged stupor. My first attempt at turning is completely futile, as with sheer willpower, I try in the hopes of wiping the residue drug out of my system. It's like I have zero ability, and even breaking my own promise to myself to never link Colton's again. I try, desperate for some kind of help right now, just his reassuring voice, his always knowing what to do, his words to calm me. I get a black wall of non-penetration, meaning something is blocking all of my gifts and abilities, and I'm right now no better off than a mere mortal with no gifts at all. I wonder what the hell they've done to me to subdue all that is supernatural, and I don't have time to ponder it when a tiny buzzing sound draws my attention up above my head, behind my line of vision, wriggling around until I can tilt my head far enough back, arching the very slight amount I can, to see a camera repositioning in the top corner over my head and focusing its attention on me. I guess my movements alerted someone to the fact I'm now awake, and I glare at it hatefully, visually doing what my body can't, and rebelling in some small way. I try harder than ever to get movement out of these straps and give up as a wave of fatigue washes over me and leaves me breathless. It's futile. I have no strength at all, still groggy enough that my little amount of energy wanes fast, and I jump internally when the door across the room beeps loudly, reverberating through my ears and clicks to signal someone coming in. I see you're awake, dear girl. I've been impatiently poised and ready to come introduce myself to such a marvel as yourself. The heavy accent is foreign, almost like the Queen of England that I've heard on television in the orphanage, and I screw my face up at the man who strolls in towards me, smiles weirdly as though eyeing up a special gift someone has left for him by surprise. I'm momentarily taken aback by the almost caricature way he has of talking. He's in his older years with graying fluffy hair, glasses, and a balding head. His midriff is round and portly, which makes his white lab coat look restrictive, and emphasizes he's wider in size than in height. I can tell the second he walks in that he's not wolf. I mean, you would never see a wolf in this bad a physical shape, and we definitely do not go bald. Gray over time, but none of that human aging flaws like developing weight or saggy bits. Definitely no losing hair. Wolves stay in their prime until they cash out past the 100 and so years we live for, and this guy looks like he's maybe hitting human 60 at a push. He has a striped baby blue shirt on, a peak of green braces, but a dark red polka dot bow tie that just adds to his peculiarness. I just stare at him pointedly, eyes steeped in mistrust, and give him no response. Quite, he says, absurdly for no obvious reason as his eyes travel up and down me in the most disturbing way. I'm definitely being sized up for some sort of alien autopsy. Either that or he's lost in his own head and marveling at some wonder that has him smiling like a weirdo. Where am I? I blurt out boldly, not really caring about polite and friendly given my current predicament, and the fact this asshole has me lassoed to a bed, while Willy Wonka style bobbing nearby. My spine is agony at the point of that damn dart, and it feels like I'm black and blue all over, only just beginning to feel my fingers and toes, and despite starting to regain some alert. I feel like I'm not quite here fully yet, and this still has an aura of dreamlike to it. Oh, of course, silly me. How rude and utterly awful. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Dr. George William Robert Adams. I'm the resident chief scientific officer at this facility, and you, my dear, are our guest. Sadly, we did have to take some measures for both our safety and yours, given that, like my acquaintances, you seem to possess a certain wonderful gift. But it's a temporary arrangement until we become better acquainted. I hope you won't hold it against us, that without knowing your character or purpose for trespassing on our doorstep, we acted hastily in a precautionary manner. And your name is? It's a whoosh of ridiculously precise, Queen's English in an exaggerated and somewhat foolish sense. I'm at a loss. I didn't think people actually talked or behaved like this, let alone ones who survived living among the aggressive, low-patient, temper-driven, wolf kind, like me. He's a little absurd. I blink at him, stupefied at that whole upper crust, marble-mouthed mass of weirdness that came out of him. He seems like some eccentric Mary Poppins-type character, and I'm sure I might still be high from whatever they darted me with. I stare right back at him blankly, dropping my head back on the semi-flat pillow underneath it, and say not a word. I know. You must be thinking the absolute worst after Mr. Deacon took you down with an elephant dart, and they carted you in here and trussed you up like a Sunday roast on an oven sheet. Truly, we don't mean any harm. We would just like to ascertain who you are, where you came from, and exactly what you were doing snooping around this rather top secret and out-of-bounds facility. A boring informality before we can be more hospitable. Please don't hold it against me. He raises his brow at me, still smiling like a demented person, and removes his glasses to clean them on his coat, only breaking eye contact for a moment before returning them to his face and renewing that creep smile. I'm starting to wonder if this one is a sandwich short of a picnic. And maybe this is what happens when you live in a box underground and don't see the sun for prolonged periods. Passing through, I have no idea what this place is and no interest in it. I point out blankly, not really willing to elaborate, but it only gets a strange H-moom noise in return as he nods at me. I see. Except the little issue with that is, you were very clearly caught on our surveillance, snooping around and checking Tyron's truck out before hightailing it into the forest. Oopsie. I believe you, but they don't, which is rather disastrous. May I add though? Wow. Just wow. I've never seen, literally ever, in the real flesh and bone myself, an actual pure and full white-furred wolf. It truly was a remarkable sight. Not to sidetrack the main point and negate the seriousness of your current position, but I just had to put that out there. He raises his palms in a quirky little jazz hand movement that perfectly times with the happy wide-eyed, lifted brow thing he does. The dude is strange. Who the hell is this guy? And did he swallow a thesaurus in his formative years? He sure takes the long way to say anything, and it totally throws you off. I honestly can't tell if this is a tactic to disarm you and pull information, or if he really is a conversation-starved oddball and tends to offload. Maybe he's just weird. He has the whole odd outfit thing down to a T for being a weird one. I'm also shocked to be told my fur is now fully white, although I did have hints and suspicion it was turning that way. But he just solidified the fact for me. It's not like I've had a mirror or an ability to take my head off and use it to look at my full body when turned. No idea why my turning white is happening, and I wonder if Mother experienced the same thing. A flaw. Just like everyone said it was. Maybe some kind of disease that spreads. I thought he might have food, I add, eyes darting around the room past him as I continue to come back to the land of reality and start looking for something useful to help me get out of these straps. Muster up the willpower to turn again. But nothing happens. Something is seriously screwing with my abilities, and this individual doesn't seem like an imminent threat. Unless talking you to death is possible. My nerves are quickly dissipating in his presence. Oh, so you're hungry. Oh Lord, how thoughtless of us. Well, we can do something about that, can't we? No need for us to be rude and inhospitable. It makes perfect sense. You would be drawn to a man-made building in search of supplies in the center of this green utopia if you were out here lost. I just would like to know your name for a start, and possibly where you originated from. And maybe, if you have any more friends lurking out there. A pack, a mate. Someone who might not be very discreet about the whereabouts of our sensitive location. I know it's a bothersome formality, but they won't let me feed or untie you without it. I ignore him completely, too occupied with the why of the fact I can't seem to muster any kind of ability, and even my strength is no more than a regular human. It's beginning to frustrate me, as I can now move my toes and feet and rotate and wriggle them to test the strength of the straps. My strength and speed I have even in human form is absent. What have you done to me? Why can't I turn? I snap it at him aggressively, temper rising as it really sinks in. But it isn't helpful in terms of ability at all. I hit him with a pointed look under lowered brows and his happy little face drops to an almost impressed, ooh, look, AHA. Well caught. You're an observant one, aren't you? This facility is a life-sized isolation tank, so your kind can't use any unwanted force or abilities on my staff when we require your presence, or when we have guests, such as yourself. It's quite remarkable how they make a building completely capable of dissolving any kind of supernatural ability, isn't it? I don't have the engineering science, but I can assure you it's quite ingenious. He talks way too much. He also gets way too excited over the smallest things, and I eye roll and shake my head at him, trying to draw him back to the intel that I need. Once again, where am I? I'm losing my cool quickly. Annoyed at being held down, and I start wriggling manically, more to attempt to escape this crazy one, not giving a crap he's standing right there. The noise of the door beeping and clicking behind him, though, snaps my attention back to it and the dark uniformed figure that comes stalking in as he pushes a trolley with what seems to be a food tray to one side. Pipe down, princess. You know where you are because you hauled ass up to our door and tried to take a peek. The question he asked. Are there more of you out there? It's a commanding, deep, almost growl-like tone from a serious-looking man with a foreboding glare. My inner intimidation returns as he makes my brave pipe down, and I return to still, cool-mannered, and stare directly at him. He's a scary one, and most definitely wolf. Not that my sense of smell is working either. Tall, broad, physically hunky, and good-looking in that boring typical dominant wolf way. And unnervingly very Santo. Which in itself is weird. He's Latino. Dark, tanned, handsome, and I swear he almost has Colton's darkest chocolate eyes. Although his have hints of green that lighten them overall. And it somehow kills the whole smoldering thing. He has an arrogant look to him, and a slight downturn to his mouth where Colton's turns up, that gives him an aggressive superiority air. Colton, even when being an arrogant ass, always has a smiley quality to his face. Pretty boy. Cute. Dimples. God, I miss him. Guess you'll find out soon enough. I remark bitchily, not willing to give them any information until I know what's going to happen to me. So far it does seem that tests and experiments and pulling my insides out is unlikely. I'm probably more in danger of being fangirled by the dude in the white coat who has a serious leg hump for my whiteness. If they know I'm alone and have no one tracking me or with me, they might think nothing of disposing of me. He did say this was a top secret facility, and I'm guessing making promises not to tell doesn't really hold a lot of weight with these types. I shouldn't tell them anything, and pray they believe I'm a no one, and let me go on my merry way. Not the sensible response, sweetheart. Name pack name. Don't get smart. The quicker we know who you are, the faster you might get out of here. He eyes me viciously. No friendly at all in that face. I snort at that, half laughing, sardonically, and roll my eyes noting how much emphasis he put on the word might. Sure, I will. I mean, it's totally normal to be an asshole, drug people, and tie them up, right? Now is probably not a good time to realize I developed bad attitude and sass while living in the wilderness, but something about him really riles me up. I'm guessing it's the Latino look, and that hint of accent, reminding me of so many smug dickheads I grew up around. And his tone is getting on my last nerve, sick of being pushed around by these alpha-type wolves and their damn superiority complexes. Deacon here is our head of security, and you must excuse his abrupt manner. He's just very concerned that the delicate nature of our work might be compromised if some random, yet very pretty, rebel wolves should happen to disrupt our facility. We have sensitive materials that require the utmost protection. I beg you to understand our predicament and disregard my friend's hostility in such an unfortunate matter. He's flapping, looking flustered and trying to give an air of friendly. Doc, too much intel for a bratty girl who's giving nothing in return. How about go polish a stethoscope over in the corner and leave this to me? He snaps, and the poor little doctor reddens in the cheeks at the verbal tell-off. His eyes dropping to the floor in submission, and it's no surprise to see which one rules this roost. Deacon is not that much older than me physically. And yet he acts like he could totally be of Juan's arrogant, nasty bloodline, with a massive chip on his shoulder. He probably got stationed here against his own will, and takes it out on everyone around him. He looks like the type to love pistol whipping people, and probably gets off on the power trip. Maybe. If I wasn't chained to a bed, I would be more inclined to talk. I point out sarcastically, raising one brow to drive the point home, and showing none of the fear that's still simmering in my belly. I guess being out there alone for weeks on end gave me a sense of fierce and confidence. I never knew I could ever get back, and this time, it's Deacon who eye rolls. She does have a point though. It's not very polite of us, especially when she cannot do any physical damage within these walls. The doc seems to be the soft touch, and the dark glare Deacon spins and throws at him, makes him pipe down immediately. He almost turns crimson from the neck up and shuffles back, slightly away from the big brute at his side. She gets loose when we get some answers. He digs his heels in, turning back to me with an unamused frown that signals him throwing his dominance around. And I sigh heavily, knowing I've no choice but to give them something if I want the use of my limbs at least. It's not great being interrogated by two men standing over me, while I'm set out like a sacrifice to the gods. Mentally, it makes me feel at a very huge disadvantage, and being free would make this less intimidating. Fine. Carmen. My pack comes from the east, and I'm taking a little trekking holiday break from them, after a fight with my mom, and stupidly stumbled across your little building. I was curious, that's all. I lie convincingly and stare straight at Mr. Security, long and hard to drive the point home. My stomach is starting to tremble. My nerves getting the better of me, and I can't tell if the waves of cold are the aftereffects of the drug or my anxiety peaking. I've no idea why I chose her name. I guess on some level, if I do get free, then I want her name to be the one they cast to the shoot on sight if seen again list. I mean, I do blame her for a huge portion of how I got here. Carmen. Nope, he replies, and crosses his arms across a muscular chest, trying to appear in the know, but it only serves to irritate me further. Why nope? Carmen is my goddamn name. I'm sorry it doesn't meet your expectations, freak. I huff, wriggle aggressively, and exhale heavily when I make no headway in loosening anything. You're not a very good liar. You have about 50 tells, and the only part of that which was true was that you stumbled across us. The rest was bullshit. Look, we just need to know who else is with you, and who you linked and told about this place before we took you down. What does it matter, for fuck's sake? No one. Okay, I'm alone, and this bullshit is getting old. Untie me if you're all so fucking nice and friendly, as it might make a goddamn difference to this conversation. If you want me to talk, then get me off this goddamn, uncomfy, infernal fucking bed. You have me strung out on like I'm awaiting dissection. I lose my cool, my temper snaps with sheer frustration at him, riling in a way only Colton ever could make me, and I blame the fact that he resembles him somewhat, and has that same pig-headed, stubborn ass manner that used to make me crazy hate the Santos, that know-it-all, bullcrap, mind game, shit, and ordering me around. How alone? He completely ignores my femi tantrum. Deacon steps closer, pressing his hands to either side of my head on the bed, and it dips as he leans into me, bringing his face close enough he locks on me, eye to eye, and blocks out most of the light over my head, casting his face in shadow. It has the effect I guess he was going for, in that I lose all fight, recoiling back inside myself, completely affected, and a little fearful, and lift my chin in a bid to not show it, backing down subtly, but not without a little fight, like all the way alone. My pack isn't with me, but I can't be sure they aren't far behind. It's not really a lie, as I don't actually know if any of my pack have ever caught on to any kind of trail and followed me. I doubt it, as they would have caught up by now, but I'm not going to say I know for sure they haven't. I just don't know. And it seems to be a believable statement as he leans up and pushes himself away from me after a minor scrutinizing of my face at close quarters. No one with you. No mind linking, he repeats sternly. And as stupid as I am for admitting it, I shake my head. Deacon seems satisfied. I'm not lying, and turns back to his submissive oddball. You can untie her, Doc, she can eat, but she stays confined in here until we decide what should be done with her. I still want a name and pack. I need to know what kind of threat she is, or they pose. I'll be back soon. I need to contact Alpha Santo and get direction concerning our intruder. He'll want to be informed. My heart literally stops beating in my chest, and I have to stop myself from gasping out loud at the words that come out of his mouth. My insides self-combust, and my blood freezes in my veins, as my mind comes to a complete standstill on those two little terrifying words. Alpha Santo Juan. There is no other Santo pack in these parts, and his resemblance isn't coincidental. Why Colton kept coming to mind is now glaringly obvious. This is Juan's facility, which can only mean one thing. Deacon is a Santo. It explains the asshole's bad attitude and shitty behavior. And possibly, Sierra is not an invading dream because of Colton's telling me about her before I left him. She's been calling me somehow from these four walls and led me right to her. The fates wouldn't just let this casually happen. I don't understand how, or even why, or that she managed to do it from inside an isolation tank. But there's no other logic for this kind of crazy coincidence. This is a Santo building, a facility, so many miles, and days away from the mountain, but close enough for Juan to have his reach. Doubt he has many facilities in our lands, and I didn't just come upon this by chance. I start wondering how much of this was orchestrated by the fates, and I don't mean from the second I turned east. I mean all of it. I'm so screwed though. Once Juan knows I'm here, it's going to be game over. He might actually send me to the same fate as Sierra, wherever she is, and leave me to rot in here along with her for the next 10 years. It'll be the answer to the dilemma of my pairing with his son. Keep me locked up, and keep Colton safe. It's not like anyone'll miss me if I too disappear for a decade. The doctor moves over me as soon as Deacon leaves us alone. His face apologetic, with a softness to his gray eyes that I didn't notice before. He has a kindness, in the wrinkles and lines around his eyes and mouth, that suggest he genuinely smiles a lot in his life, with a worried glance at my face and a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. He whispers in a shaky voice, revealing his own fears. Please, don't react when I remove these. I don't want to have to sedate you again, and I don't know if I've a strength to match you, even in human form. I swear. I mean you no harm. Let's keep this civil. You play nice, we play nice. It doesn't have to be hostile. He doesn't trust me. And even though in here, I have no gifts, he's wary of me. He's human for sure. And he knows what we are capable of, which means he's probably witnessed it to be this kind of afraid. I find it weird they even have a mortal here, but I guess the wolf world has a shortage of crazy doctors to keep Juan's mate hidden with. Packs are family. And it's rare to find sub-packs who keep secrets from the rest, especially among one as big as the Santos. I guess humans are easier to keep quiet. I nod and relax my body in a bid to show him I'll behave. And he seems to pick up on it. His smile strengthening, and his face relaxes. I can almost taste the tension seeping out as he leans in to undo the first buckle. He makes fast and light work of releasing me from the bed, and jumps back cautiously when he unties the last ankle strap, eyeing me from a distance as I slowly sit up and regain my bearings. It takes a minute, and my head swims as I level up, aware I have only this gown on to cover my modesty, and it falls forward off my shoulders as I move, telling me it's not even tied at the back. They must have thrown it on before restraining me, and I reach back to pull it together again. Just let me go. I'm not interested in this place or your work. I have my own plans en route. I'll happily get back to that. I point out, trying to sound sincere. But the old man's eyes narrow, and he frowns at me, shaking his head apologetically. Oh, my dear. I'm afraid I'm not the one who makes those kinds of decisions, or I would show to the door with a wave and a sandwich. The problem is, we can't let you go without being sure all of that is true. No one's come up here in 10 years without invitation, and yet here you are, not just a regular silly trekker or lost hiker, but a wolf. A solitary femme, which is quite unusual in itself given pack hierarchy, and the female role in your world. But a rare white form at that. Remarkable. I'm afraid it's all a little too suspicious given the circumstances. His voice is hushed, as I guess he doesn't want Deacon, or whoever watches the camera, to hear, and the real serious concern etched in his eyes shines out. He has a trusting quality about him that's tingling my sixth sense and telling me he's not one of the bad guys. What circumstances would that be? I match his expression, a little churning of suspicion of my own as I take in his manner, and the way he seems to be deflating a little, his posture sagging as he turns towards the wall. He stops at the food trolley and pushes it towards me with a fake smile. We've been testing such unusual DNA for years, and a rare specimen falls right in my lap. It's almost like the fates ordained it. Or maybe a little spy came to gather intel for a rival pack. My work up until now has been a secret and protected. But you found us, an elusive rare white. He rises his brows suspiciously, and I fiercely glare at him as his tiny accusation filters through and offends me on a serious level. I'm no spy. And I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm white because much like my mother, I lack a pigment. It's not rare because it's special. It's a flaw, diluted bloodline, or some nonsense, and not actually desirable at all. In my world, I'm an outcast because I'm inferior. So screw your theory. No one cares about that kind of intel, least of all me. It's an angry outburst with a basis in old wounds and heartache, and I croak with a raw, harsh tone in my voice, biting back a surprising tear as it comes out. My own inferiority issues peaking and taking the form of rage. The doctor begins to laugh, like I said something ridiculous, his wide eyes and startled. His expression completely unnerves me and throws me off. A flaw. By whose standard, dear child? Hybrid blood is spectacular and a masterpiece of engineering science. My dear, I don't know who's been keeping you in the dark all these years with such nonsense, but white. It's not a flaw. In a breed where you own physical perfection and can self-heal the worst of wounds and illness. You think your DNA would allow such atrocity by defect? No, of course it wouldn't. It couldn't. Your own gifts work out the kinks in your makeup from the second you're born. It's the bonding perfection between two species and happens only when the biochemistry of a particular set of genes lines up in a magical way. Two species, two blood types, merging beautifully in one captivating dance that produces a new third, equally magnificent species. You, my dear, are what I have been dying to test for the last decade. It's a near impossible combination to make stick without awful deformities or even loss. And your kind are few and far between. Whoever first engineered your astounding DNA must have been incredibly talented. Tell me, are you a first generation, or are you a natural born? That grand speech and whooshing of overexcitable words floors me. I try and absorb half of what that word junkie threw at me, and I'm still sitting blinking at him as my brain catches up the translation from freak talk to plain English. You're lying. I don't know what you're talking about, or half of what you said, but I know hybrids aren't a thing. Terror overtakes me as his words filter in, and my mind refuses to digest what he's saying because it's simply wrong. The wolves pride their bloodlines in purity. It's a massive part of our being and hierarchy. Mixed breeds don't exist, because if they did, the pure bloods would destroy them. They don't want dilution and mongrels among our blood. They're bad enough when weak DNA like my family's infects a pack. And those people become calm landworkers with no urge to fight and dominate. It's why the white pack never had any kind of claim to the mountain as a ruling pack, and the Santos own it. Our kind thrives on dominance. We need alphas and purity to survive. The doctor clutches a flat hand to his chest, aghast, eyes wide, an expression that translates offense, lie. I never lie when it comes to science, my dear. I'm a biochemist of the highest order with a special interest in your kind. Dedicated my life to it, and it's all I research. Hybrids are my forte. I would so love to get your samples under my microscope and see if the stories are true, and show you for yourself the absolute wonder of your own genetics. Warring species in one body, and yet they seem to have completely bloomed. I mean, look at you. Utter perfection. My blood runs cold. My eyes raking him, and trying to make sense of what he's saying, so many questions forming and gathering on my tongue. my head scrambling with the uncertainty that he might actually be telling the truth. But that would make my mother. I can't even. Deacon reappears unexpectedly, interrupting with the beep of the door before he enters, and throws us both a strange look that suggests he doesn't like whatever feeling we just gave him. The atmosphere is tense, and the doctor seems to lose his enthusiastic energy and slinks back out of the way, probably afraid to admit he told me way too much. I can tell that despite cohabiting in this place, there's no real bond between them, and the doctor is as wary of my prison guard as I am. Alpha. Juan will be here in 2 days. This one, her name is Alora, and interestingly, from our own mountain, so take from that what you will. She isn't going anywhere. Deacon turns to me, a look of disgust rippling across his face as he scowls at me, and everything inside of me seems to disperse in a wave of numb. The fear claws through me that Juan knew exactly who I was with just one call and is coming here personally to decide my fate. That's not a good sign. The mountain, the doctor whispers is so lightly under his breath, I doubt Deacon hears him, but I do, and catch that slight hint of recognition that flitters across his brow before he pushes it away and locks his facial expression on blank. Damn me for being a white wolf. That had to be the defining detail that gave it away. Maybe also the fact he knows I'm missing now, and one lone femme, this close to home, was probably a no-brainer. I raise my brows at Deacon with false bravado as if to say, "So what?" His eyes narrow at mine, and the scowl gets more prominent. "So, you're a runaway from our own pack," Juan said. "He's been looking for you, traitor. How coincidental you end up here, clearly looking for something you shouldn't be. You're going down to isolation until he gets here, and then you can be someone else's problem. Hopefully his, and I'm sure he'll find the perfect punishment for a flawed failure who betrayed her own kind." I don't doubt. Juan has conducted a whole new story about why I'm public enemy number 1, and arguing it is going to be futile. Deacon is a believer, a loyal to Juan's sub-pack, and it's boringly obvious. He was put here, probably because he is one of the Juan brainwashed who do exactly as they are told and questions nothing. Deacon grabs me by the upper arm ruthlessly and hauls me off the bed forcefully, my body still a dead weight, and I almost fall on the floor with the sudden demand to use my limbs properly, grabbing out to catch myself and instantly overwhelmed with dizziness at being bolted upright. Careful, careful. She's a very special specimen, and still a young lady. Kindness does not cost extra, Mr. Deacon. Compassion. A little human dignity. If we have her for 2 days yet, then I need to harvest samples for my studies, and could use the time to learn more about her very unique blood. I can't let this opportunity go to waste, and I certainly can't stand and watch you damage her. The doctor is torn between real human concern for a person, and that of a scientist with his eye on a prized lab rat. I can't even be mad about it. But it does open a window of opportunity. She's our prisoner, not a study volunteer. She's a betrayer of my blood, and I'll handle her as such. The only place this chick is going is down beside that mindless corpse they keep in Bay 2, and out of bounds for you and your quack colleagues in the lab. If we're lucky, she'll stay as quiet as her new roommate and be gone before she messes up any more of my week. Deacon is an asshole for sure. He pulls me with him, not waiting for my legs to catch up, and despite my inner desire to not touch this idiot, I have to grab onto him or be dragged along behind him. Sierra is not mindless. She's sedated and detained by you thugs and your lack of vision. She's a work of art, a person with feelings and thoughts, and if Juan would only allow me to waken her and— Enough! Shut your mouth. That's a dead name, just like you will be if you talk about her again. Deacon barks at him hatefully, the tone scathing, and pins him with a forceful glare. The doctor recoils, scolded, and red-faced. But I can feel his simmering anger with the mention of Sierra. the spark in him of real rage before he was shut down, and paces off to bubble under the surface, grabbing a nearby rag and twisting it between his hands as we pass him. I can tell he's trying so hard to hold his tongue. I'm speechless though. My mind racing at the confirmation she's here, and my mouth runs dry. I don't fight Deacon as he bodily hauls me out the door at speed. No consideration that his grip is leaving marks on my skin, or that I'm tripping over every step as I try to regain control of my walking ability. His fingers biting into my arm as my legs, like jelly under me, try to keep up with his long, fast stride. I end up clinging to the side of him like a needy child, aware my gown is sliding off. And I catch sight of the doctor one last time as he follows us out into the corridor, and I strain back to see. He looks sad, defeated, and as he watches me get dragged away, I lock my eyes on him one last time as I clutch together a plan of sorts in my head that might give me a tiny hope of getting out of this. I throw him a desperate backward second glance. An attempt to communicate. I volunteer. Take your tests. I want to know why I'm white, and I'm not going to be doing anything else for 2 days. I lie impulsively, loud enough for my voice to echo this hall. The doctor is a soft touch, and he knows something about Sierra too. Maybe I can convince him to let me go, or to see her to figure out why she brought me here. It's clutching at straws, and my brain is scurrying to try and figure how this will help. But it's all I have in the moment. Deacon falters, stopping us mid-step with an exaggerated exhale of annoyance. He turns us to the doctor fully. The doctor's face lights up with a glow that tells me he might be my key to getting out of here. Before Juan shows up in 2 days. Or at the least he may be a valuable ally if I can keep him latched onto my unique so-called hybrid blood. Might be able to manipulate him into revealing more or getting lax with keeping me locked up. Deacon, I can tell, is a lost cause, but the doctor, he just might be the weak link. I don't believe anything he said about being a hybrid though. I think he's a crackpot scientist who has sampled too many of his own test tubes from being in underground isolation. But if it gets me an angle to lever a possible way out, then I'm going to play on it. I'll play along and nod my head, and let him stick me with as many needles and swabs as it takes to win him around. See, she has no objections, and it's only some blood and smears and such. I will barely touch her, and it won't interfere with her time here at all. Juan will never know. The doctor's enthusiasm and surge of newfound joy is energizing and solidifies my plan. Deacon scowls at him for the longest, tensest moment. As I hold my breath and pray, she stays in Bay 1. You don't take her anywhere else, and you are to be done before Juan gets anywhere near here. Not a word to him about it, at all. Deacon lays down the law, relenting probably for a quiet life, and it's not like he'll have to do anything. The doctor nods enthusiastically, like an excitable puppy, and I remain calm and neutral, shielding the sea of nerves rippling up inside of me. My heart is pounding, my insides trembling, but on the outside, I'm cool and calm. I have a chance of breaking out, and it's keeping my wits about me. I allow Deacon to turn me manually and haul me off through the door ahead of us to a second corridor, pushing through the swing door with haste. I blink at the harsh change to lighting, opening my eyes onto a white sterile passageway with glossy surfaces that shine bright, blinding with the force of the daylight, LED lights. It creates an optical illusion of a vast white wall-less space that blinds your corneas half to death with the intensity of the snow-white environment. It's like being in my dream, creepily so. The one in which I saw Sierra, and I'm dazed a little by the surrealness of it. My heart rate escalates, my eyes raking around us as it starts to piece together and bring back memories and details of that light space where I met her, being pulled along mindlessly as my thoughts drift repeatedly to her standing ahead of me, with no real sense of boundaries around us. It's too striking a resemblance to ignore. The fates brought me here for a reason. They pushed me to run from Colton, and they hauled me east so I can't ignore it. Meadow always said the fates were never wrong, and all of this is way too coincidental to be an accident, or to keep me as a non-believer. I'm here for a reason, and the dreams I've been having about her. It all suddenly makes so much sense. Save us. She meant it. She meant us. Her. And me, and Colton. He's wavering without his mom. We're both here. And I seem to be the only one that can do anything about getting us out. Deacon is a brute of the highest order, who probably got his training in Juan's school of charm for Ashats, and half drags me, half lets me walk on my own feeble legs down the corridor to an elevator, only stopping to bark orders at another guard sat at a desk nearby, before shoving me inside and taking me down to a level that has an air of aircraft hangar. The doors slide open to reveal a large empty garage-like space in semi-darkness with concrete floors and strip lighting on the ceiling, which stands a good 20 feet above us. The space is huge, and there are 3 trucks parked at the far end on what looks like a platform, which I'm assuming raises up. It's dull, definitely many degrees colder, and seems like a part no one frequents all too often. As we walk, the lights begin to flick on automatically over our heads. And I note at the semi-middle of the wall on the left, a low glow is already illuminating from what seems to be an open alcove. From this angle, I don't really see what it is until we walk level with it and turn right, my head snapping to turn back, even while being dragged along away from it. So we head in its exact opposite direction, where I catch glimpse of what it actually is. A room behind a full glass wall stretching its width for ample viewing. That looks like at one point it's been a sectioned area for parking and was repurposed. There are tire grids running up to the window, but the inside room, it has concrete smooth floors as though they were resurfaced. It houses a bed right in the center, surrounded by machines and carts and equipment, all making flashes and low beeps and hums, keeping the solitary figure within the bed silent. A motionless brunette woman, hard from this angle to tell if it's Sierra, is laid out like Sleeping Beauty, amid wires and tubes, under a single dull spotlight, hanging directly over the bed. It's almost like an art piece of a priceless mummy in a museum. She's so still, pale, and lifeless, and it tightens my stomach in knots, choking me with emotion. She's on full view to this entire area in her glass box, yet completely unmanned, and without any kind of caregiver keeping an eye on her, which speaks volumes. I guess all the monitors and machines are doing the job of people, and it breaks my heart to see her so alone, even if she isn't aware of it. Colton would die if he saw the way she's being kept, with no human contact, no care or interaction. Just machines and isolation, in a goddamn basement. My heart aches for her, for him. And I'm glad he doesn't know this is what Juan has done to his mom. Deacon gets annoyed with my straining backwards to stare and jerks my arm cruelly, snapping my face back around, and I give him a hateful scowl. Scared of him less and less the more I'm in his company. He's a typical Santo bully, and not unlike a lot of the pack were my whole life, pushing people like me around in a bid to exert his dominance in the hierarchy. He would last 10 seconds out there if he made me mad enough to throw air at him, as stupid as that may sound. He's a dumb jock type with a bad attitude and the need of a dart gun to take down a running femme. Loser. I focus back where we are heading, and I can see my room mirrors hers, and I'm about to join the glass casket crew. I'm guessing it's the backup room should they need to move her to do whatever, or maybe in case something happens in there, and she needs moving over here. God knows, but it's almost identical, and I wonder if there was ever a second person like Sierra here. Or maybe Juan has plans to add one. Like me. Mine is not full of tubes and machines, but it does house a solitary single hospital bed in the center, which appears to be bolted down, and a wall of units and cupboards behind it. One corner holds a very public portable toilet that the other room's lacking, and I don't struggle when Mr. Security pulls me up level with the transparent wall. There's no privacy or places to hide with its matching glass barrier. And as we stand here, I see the almost invisible outline of a singular door within its vast transparency. Is this so you can watch all day and night without opening the door? Getting your freak on and watching defenseless women. I snark at Deacon, who's avoided saying anything more to me since we left the doctor in our wake. The only words were uttered at the guard outside the door, when he informed him my 3 meals a day were to be added to the rota and reported to the cook until further notice. Another Santo-looking douchebag upstairs, who glared at me like I was something gross he found stuck to his shoe. He glares at me with that sardonic asshole expression, scans a swipe card against a panel on the wall to our right, and pushes me inside aggressively. When the door slides open, it's a little sci-fi tech, and I refuse to react in any other way than hostile bitch. I almost trip over my own feet and end up slapping my hand on the wall to steady myself, before turning my head with a half-turn to snarl at him, wishing I could turn, because that boy's throat would be in much need of repair given half the chance. I have so much aggression peaking inside of me that I almost can't contain the sudden hatred of him. I can almost taste his blood and feel his pulse beating out of his jugular as I focus on what I could do given half the chance. I spin back to him fully, my robe flapping around so he probably gets an eyeful of naked ass as I did so, and throw the angriest, hostile, vicious sneer I can right at his smug face. I'm so glad I got to shoot you at least one time. God, it made me hard to see you go down like a sack of shit. He smirks as the door slides shut, and the urge to punch him in the throat overwhelms me to the point I angry jump at the door as it slides between us and end up palm slapping it at his face level, panting heavily as fire consumes me. You clearly were too slow to catch me then. If you needed a gun, you moron, probably the only time you've ever been tougher than a girl or got a harden over one. I stick my middle finger up at him and return the smirk he's dishing me as he turns on his heel to go, face grim with a darkening mood. I can tell I pissed him off on every level, but he's trying to act like I didn't. Enjoy your cell, Carmen, he snorts, using the name I gave him, and I throw sass right back. You know, you should remember that name. You and her would be perfect for each other if you were ever allowed to leave. A mountain wolf with no standards and loose panties. Right up your street, might get laid for the first time in your life. She's a prize bitch to match your prize assholeness. I yell it after him. Temper unleashed a little, and furious for the sake of being furious. Annoyed I find myself banged up in this hellhole, and under the care of a sanctimonious Santo like him. Colton would rip his head off if he was here. God, if I could link him right now, I so would. Just to see him roll on up and tear Deacon a new asshole. He would beat 7 shades of shit out of him without even needing to turn wolf. That's the difference between an asshole looking to be alpha and one who is naturally born that way. Colton never needed to push me around to exert his dominance. You could feel it whenever you were around him. He was gentler than most wolves once you got close to him. But you knew that he could turn savage and destroy anything in his wake if he needed to. Like vampires in a courtyard. Deacon blanks me completely. Waves a dismissive hand at me like he has the last word and leaves. Stalking back the way we came, like an arrogant shithead who needs to go choke. I honestly cannot stand that guy, and if I could turn, God, he would be first on my hit list for being air punched across the room. I have enough rage bubbling through my veins to ignite it, but unfortunately, no actual ability in this weird futuristic building. All I need is an ounce of use to link Colton, tell him where his mom is, and bust everyone's ass in here. I have enough rage that I think I could. Maybe, I just wish I'd been bright enough to find and use that gift when they chased me through the damn forest. I only have myself to blame for not being able to harness my own fate-given gift. As soon as I watch him storm off into the elevator and completely disappear, I turn my attention back to the room across the floor from me and focus on that lifeless sleeping body. She's 20 feet away at the least, maybe more. But these glass walls, although thick, don't keep the sound out. The low beep, beep and swoosh of her life support is humming and repeating subtly in the air around us now that asshole has gone. And the place is almost silent once more. I lean forward until my palms touch the glass, only this time softly, and press my forehead to it, so I can steady my still pretty weak self and stare at the side profile of the figure laid out over there, instantly enveloped in a feeling of hopelessness as I watch her lifeless form. She's been down here like this for God knows how many years, and I can't believe Juan would do this to his own mate. It's like he just put her aside and forgot about her, and the only reason she's even alive is because their link would kill him if he let her die. So, this is what he does. Breaking the bonds and rules of being mated, he's not protecting her or caring for her in sickness and health. He isn't allowing the pack to nurture their Luna the way they're meant to. He's ashamed and hiding her in a place no one knows about. There's no dignity in what they've done to her, and the doctor slipped out and made it clear there's nothing wrong with her mind. Juan obviously has other reasons for keeping her down here if madness is not it. And I will her to give me some sort of sign that she knows I'm here. Hey. Luna Sierra, can you hear me? I yell as loud as I can, hurting my throat in the process with scratchy rawness, but it doesn't elicit any response, not even a change in heart rate on one of her many machines. I watch carefully, listen to the sounds, but there's nothing. Can you hear me? I try again. Not as loud, but my throat aches with the effort, and I cough dryly, giving up on that method quickly. I sigh, sliding down the glass, and watch her desperately, trying to figure out how someone in a building that blocks gifts, in an induced coma, could somehow reach out to me and guide me to her with the weird dreams and urges to come east. It doesn't make sense now that I see her and know she can't call to me. In fact, she doesn't seem like she can do very much of anything at all. Except maybe breath on her own, as she doesn't have any kind of ventilator over there. She didn't urge me here. There's simply no way in hell it could have been her. The only answer I can think of is maybe the fates did this instead. And it wasn't her at all, but I guess I'm not about to find out. If I thought she had answers, then it's pretty clear she won't be giving me them, and this is a dead end. The fates delivered me back to Juan for absolutely nothing, and when he gets here, knowing I found this place and saw her like this, he isn't going to let me get back anywhere near Colton ever again. I hate being stuck in human form and completely powerless to even get out of this dumb glass. Everything in here is bolted down, probably because they don't want prisoners throwing things at the window, and I am not about to kill myself by hurtling my own body through it to see if it breaks. Without being able to turn, I would probably bleed to death. Being that unlucky girl who brought down a shard over my neck or something, and still be stuck down here. A shriveled, empty corpse to stink the place up. That jerk didn't even let me eat like he said, and my stomach growls angrily at the lack of having food since God knows when. I don't even know what time it is, morning or night, or how long I was sedated in that room, considering there are no windows underground. I last ate in the day before sleeping in that damn tree, where all my possessions are, and I'm starving. It's no wonder I feel weak and shaky. I'm running on empty. It's weird, but maybe it's my years of being bossed around, held captive in a less than caring home, and treated like a reject at the hands of my so-called pack, but I'm not even afraid anymore. Being here held captive, I know that the worst will come with Juan. But even then, what's he going to do to me? He can't kill me or inflict too much pain, because his son will bear the brunt. And Lord knows his legacy is always at the center of everything. He could do what he's done to Sierra, I guess. but it's not like she seems aware of anything, and maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing. No longer tied to Colton, carrying this burden of heartache, while he lives his life with that skanky Puda, maybe a long sleep will be better than stuck in a glass box for a lifetime. I abandon the glass and get up to walk across the cold concrete floor on shaking legs. I need to lay down and finally get rid of the rest of this drug in my blood, so I can at least walk around normally and not feel like I'm on newborn legs. Maybe I'll feel better if I take some time to let it work out and sleep off the rest of it. My body is shaking internally, and I keep having minor bouts of dizziness, which remind me I'm in no state to take on the likes of Deacon if I ever get a chance. My first goal before I leave this place is to knee him in the balls for shooting me in the back like a coward. I don't get to the bed before the noise of the elevator whooshing open sways this way, and I instantly stiffen, expecting Deacon to come back and grace me with his toxic personality, and mentally try to figure out the likelihood of being able to kick him between the legs for the sake of it. I climb on the bed, turn around, and sit with my legs dangling off the edge in readiness to give him more attitude and lure him inside to my perfect level of height as I hear footsteps and a lot of squeaking noises of wheels rolling across the hard floor. Coming my way, it's not Deacon. It's the doctor and a female in a white lab coat too, and I frown as he appears in front of the glass door pulling the food cart and carrying a bag in his other hand, while she pushes another behind him. He waves at me before accessing the door and slides it open with a smile. "My dear, we never fed you, and I couldn't let you go hungry down here in this inhospitable nightmare of a place. I brought you some clothes. They're nothing fancy, just the smallest size from the supply closet that I could find, and a fetching shade of military gray." He pushes the trolley inside, the sudden smell of food filling the air, and my mouth starts to water with the reminder I'm near famished. He drops the bag just inside the door, but hesitates about coming in, and I sit here waiting patiently. His female companion stays back, arranging some medial implements on a tray on top of her own trolley, and avoids looking my way completely. She's young, maybe early 20s, and looks very white girl, medical student, human blonde. It's a genuine response because this gown is not exactly great at hiding things or offering comfort, and maybe eating will help straighten me out a little. In human form, I'm suffering from the effects of not eating and probably have a low blood sugar to boot. The female seems interested in me but keeps her distance, and it's not hard to tell that my kind make her nervous. She pushes the trolley to near him, and then turns and walks away without a word. It's nothing too adventurous, just a chicken salad and bread. The cook is normally quite wonderful with our hot foods, but you were an in-between meal visitor. It won't be long before lunch is served and it'll be something hot, like it always is. I believe today is carrot and coriander soup, followed by a delightful steak tartare. Fabulous talented chef, and we are most grateful to have one here. Despite his overly friendly chatter and enthusiasm over food, he seems awkward now that we are down here, and I catch him throw a glance over his shoulder at our sleeping beauty, watching our departed medical student walk into her room and check on the equipment and levels, the door closing behind her quickly and dampening the noise back to a low hum that intensified when she opened it. I catch the doctor pause for a second longer before a slight sag gives away a little tell. "You knew her?" I ask brazenly, seeing a sadness as he turns back to me and a fake smile pops up to hide his obvious reaction. His expression clouding over a little, and despite my senses not being on form, I can almost taste the change in his mood. He looks at me oddly, eyes narrowing, and it's as though he goes to say something, then stops and falters, his mouth opening with no sound before he draws back, looks around once more and leans in a little, lowering his tone. Only too aware of the female across the way. She was my friend. This was her project long before the war. The hybrid research. The learning about the rare wolves no one talks about. I never imagined she would end up being one of its inhabitants. His face reddens and he shakes his head as though he can't quite believe he told me this, mentally shaking himself. But I'm not going to let an opportunity pass me by, and I have to show he can trust me. He just left her here to rot, Juan. I mean, because she got sick. I ask innocently, fully aware that upstairs he said there was nothing wrong with her mind at all, but I need to gently draw him into this. I need to win him over slowly. Sick. Her mate has no interest in my research, but we serve a purpose that he needs fulfilled. Keeping her alive and quiet, if that is the sickness to which you refer. So, he pays the facility bills, funds my grants, and leaves us to do whatever as long as she exists here, and we don't ask questions anymore. His low, hushed voice signals that maybe he doesn't quite trust either the female across the way, or maybe there are cameras down here. I sit up a little, pushing my hands under the edges of my legs and change tactic. A common ground to show him I'm definitely not about to run to Juan. I knew her too. And her son. I know him, Colton. I don't know why I hesitate to call him my fated mate, but the piercing sharp stab to my heart before the word comes out stops me. Maybe because all I can think of when he comes to the forefront is that he has betrayed me and marked that bitch, and is now her mate. I can't bear to say the word out loud. I swallow it down, the bitter taste almost making me gag. Ah, yes. Little Colton. Such a blessed boy. So many years since I laid eyes on that beautiful child. She was so very proud to bear a son, you know. Always wanted a child of her own, and the fates blessed her finally with that little bundle of cheekiness, while providing Juan the heir he was pressing for. His future legacy. He was such a little rebel as a pup, always climbing and running around when I visited the manor. I can't imagine what her being taken did to him. He loved her so very much. The faraway look. The distance as he locks onto a memory. And I slide down from the bed, motioning to the food tray so as not to make him think I'm coming at him. But I want to be closer so he feels more able to talk freely in a hushed tone. I want to lull him into a sense of security and kill him with kindness. She struggled to conceive him. I ask innocently, trying to direct the conversation and keep him engaged in what he assumes is neutral. Get him talking. If I'm going to win him over to my side, I have to make him feel he can talk to me, and not like I'm prying too much for answers to Sierra's current predicament. You move around the prey to suss out the best angles and lull it into a sense of calm before you pounce on it. Is something my grandfather always used to say. I'm curious, though, that a wolf would have issues with fertility, as it's not really something we suffer with. We're physically perfect. Fertility is a given when the fates decide it's your time to pup. Curse of some hybrids, I'm afraid. It's that when they mate with a pureblood, sometimes the pure genetics destroys the hybrid cells and the child becomes non-viable, in vitro cell death. It's been so hard to reproduce with your kind. Because, like I said, imperfections are destroyed by your own DNA. An invasion of another species in the makeup is exactly like a virus in your body. It has itself a little war of its own and diminishes the fertile egg. Fascinating. Yet heartbreaking, especially for her. Colton was her 7th, and I think had he died it would have finally broken her. Such a special boy. I know he's said it twice now. But he can't be right about the hybrid thing at all. I mean, my mother had 2 planned pups, and she never mentioned issues in pregnancy or carrying us. So neither of my parents could have been hybrids. Which means I'm definitely not. And then there's the matter of Sierra. And especially not where Juan is concerned. He's not. That's a whole other thing. She can't be a hybrid. That makes no sense at all. Juan Santo is a pureblood who wouldn't tolerate that kind of union. His son's a pureblood. It's all he ever goes on about. Rolling my eyes without meaning to. a little anger spiking through as memory replays on the whole superior, lording over the mountain bullshit. Juan's constant lord and king kick, and preaching to the packs for decades about his family's traced pure line of genetics. The Santos pride themselves on being from the strongest lineage of wolves. He would never willingly take on a mate who was anything less. I mean, look at his reaction to my being fated to Colton. That says it all. The doctor looks behind him. Checking his assistant is engrossed in dealing with the machines before stepping inside my room, so the door slides closes behind him. Lowering his tone once more, "My dear, I fear I have said too much, and inadvertently made your hope of release a less plausible outcome. You must forget what I said, especially about Luna Santo. It's in your best interest that we never had this conversation, and you do not repeat to anyone that we did." There's serious concern etched into his face that deepens the lines around his eyes, and he locks a direct gaze right on my eyes, a hint of warning in his tone. He's closing down our line of communication because he thinks what he's telling me puts me in danger. A hint that I was right about his character, and him being the soft link in this facility. He's a decent man who cares, and I need to show him that I'm already screwed. So he doesn't lock me out. I am printed on Colton and Juan forbade it. We're fated, but he forced him to mark another for the sake of the pack. I'm not getting set free. I'm probably going to end up like her, or worse. I'm a reject of the pack. A deluded bloodline who brings shame to his people. And the only reason he's coming here is to be done with me once and for all. Nothing you say makes a difference to what he's going to do to me. I'm not getting out. It's a harsh, hurried whisper, and I fall silent as I catch a glimpse over his shoulder of his assistant coming out of Sierra's room. Nodding her way to alert him, but he seems completely dazed. Stiff and still and staring at me intensely. I'm done. I'll go up to the lab and run the new bloods we were sent from the south. Doctor, she calls to him from the hallway across the bay, and without looking back at her he waves a hand dismissively, eyes locked on me in the most alarming way. She takes that as an answer, nods and walks off towards the elevator briskly to head back upstairs. The air in this room suddenly heavy with tension, imprinted by the fates. As in that rare form of bonding two souls, so they become insanely lust and love-driven to be forever together. I didn't think any alpha had the authority to undermine that. It means you're linked to Sierra's bloodline. His skin tone seems to pale noticeably, and his eyes darken weirdly, his mind clearly racing over a million thoughts, and his forehead wrinkles deepen as his frown does. An air of mild nervousness kicking up around him. Yeah, well, Juan doesn't give a rat's ass about anything except his own authority. And Colton, he's so stuck in his shadow that he chose to let me go instead of honoring the bond. So I left. Didn't look back and something brought me here instead. This wasn't a chance find. This facility, dreaming of her almost every night, and something pulled me here. I'd headed south, but something made me change and come east from my path. Sierra's voice calling or some stupid memory of a dream that wouldn't leave me alone. I offload on him. Now I know his companion is in the elevator, and it feels good to finally say it to someone, rather than be all caught up in my own head. A gush of chatter that I've been turning over for days. Stop. Don't. The doctor waves his hand at me, snapping me back to attention, and the wild-eyed, terrified look on his face as though I just told him I have a bomb under my ass. He turns abruptly. Panic slamming the card against the wall panel to slide open the door, lacking graceful coordination, and steps out of the doorway fully, shaking his hands and head, and I follow. Unsure why he's recoiling, his whole body trembling as he oozes a crazy amount of fear. I can taste it. What? Why? Do you think I'm lying? The sudden rise of emotion in him has me on edge too, and the panic that I'm scaring my only ray of light to escape away. He appears to be running away, But as he turns to me, to close the door, the tear I catch in his eye silences me, and he pauses, taking a deep breath and lowering his hands. The open door between us keeping us a couple of feet apart, but his sadness overwhelms me. 8 years of silence. 8 years watching her sleep. 8 years hoping that one day the things she said, I'd accept that my friend had lost her mind completely. 8 years. And I convinced myself that her visions and stories were that of a mad woman, broken by battle, which convinced her that her mate was an evil player in some bigger plan, and her confinement here was a betrayal to silence her. 8 years justifying that she was better asleep than to be tortured by her own illness of the mind. I don't know if he's saying it to me, or to himself. His eyes not on me, just glazed and distant as a single tear rolls down his cheek. And I'm so very confused. I don't understand. You said she was fine upstairs. She's been here longer than 8 years. Colton said 9. Or was that including the war? When he didn't see her in that time frame because he never saw her when she came home at all. I don't know. Oh God, please don't tell me she really is broken, and this is all for nothing. The thought crosses my mind, things not adding up to what he said, and going around in circles. Unable to piece it together logically. Maybe Sierra really was sick, but then what the hell is he saying? The doctor smiles at me sadly, his pale gray eyes finally landing on mine, and gives me a watery half-smile. If she was crazy, then how could she tell me that one day a solitary she-wolf from the West would come to save us all from something that was coming? A future leader of her people, joined to her blood by the fates. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's wishful thinking and guilt because I've let her lay there for 8 long years. Don't you see? He's almost babbling. But I pick out the points I think he's trying to connect. I came east from where I was, and I'm linked to her son. I repeat robotically, still looking at him with a quizzical expression on my face and trying to figure out what his vague statements mean. He's lost in his own head. Tell me. What does the name Marina mean to you? He narrows his eyes on me, leaning in as though telling me a secret of the utmost importance, and her name falls off his tongue like a lead rod that stabs me in the heart. I gasp at the utterance of it on this man's lips. My blood running cold as he says it, and I openly stifle a sob such as the unexpected pain of hearing it. A name that died when she did, and no one has uttered it in a decade. She was my mother. I whisper it painfully. That same rise of heartache any time I begin to think of her and have to stop my own tears from breaking free. The doctor clasps a hand to his mouth as though I've uttered something sinful. His eyes widening in alarm, and he begins to breathe heavily, backing away from me as something seems to click into place. I can't hear this, because if this is what she said, I've let my friend suffer in sleep for all these years alone, and I failed her. I let him convince me she was mad. Don't you see? I broke my oath. I broke my promise as her friend, and I'm a terrible person. I need to go. I don't want to know about any of this. He pulls away, shaking visibly, beginning to crumble, and avoids looking at me as panic grips him mercilessly. He's clearly distressed. His words falter as he babbles them out, and he's once again running from me mentally. Wait. Don't go. What about my mother? What do you know? How do you know her name? What did she say about her? I'm yelling after him, grasping for something. I don't even know I'm chasing, as my own panic rises with being left with nothing but her name. My door slides quickly shut as he departs, and traps me inside this chamber before I get after him, because I was too slow to lurch forward. He isn't looking back but scarpering across the concrete floor until he gets midway between mine and hers on the way to the elevator. I'm sorry. I really am. He cries it at me, as I slam my hands on the glass in a bid to get the door to open, pressing hard against it so I can see him as he runs off to my left. I need to know what she said about my mother. I scream it like a feral banshee, my own emotions overwhelming me as so many racing thoughts rush through my head, and I'm consumed with suspicion and pain and heartbreak, all weighing down like a house falling on top of me. My breathing erratic and I pound the glass aggressively. In sheer need to follow him, it shudders and quakes but doesn't budge an inch. I can't calm down. The craziness of that interaction has me all wired and panting as emotion racks me and my thoughts spiral crazily with so many possibilities on such little information. The mention of my mother, his reaction, it's made me react in ways I never have before, and I start pacing, pulling at my hair as I try to self-calm and focus. I upset him. So he's run off, but maybe he'll come back. Maybe he needs time to process. And calm like, maybe I do too. Maybe it was a shock that something she told him now appears to be coming true. He said visions, but wolves, they don't have those, and maybe that's what triggered him, a fear that she could and did. And now I'm here, and I came east, and I'm linked. Oh God. It's all so messy in my head, so I can't even imagine what's going on in his. If this is something she told him over 8 years ago. I mean, to us the fates and coincidence, it's a common thing, and we trust in the paths they lay for us with so little questioning of it. But humans, they have a harder time accepting or believing. So many nowadays don't even believe in God, let alone some supernatural higher power that always has a plan. He'll calm down, rationalize, and come back to explain why he knew my mother's name. I mean, that's what he'll do, right? That's what I'm praying anyway. Something strikes a chord in everything I said, and now I need to know more. I have to know more. I need to find out what it was Sierra told him all those years ago that got her sent here and pushed into a coma. Juan is keeping her quiet by convincing people she's crazy, so I want to know what that is. Especially if my mother's name is in there somewhere, and she knew I would come. Be linked to her son. How could she know that? Wolves can't see the future. Only witches and seers and, oh God, this hybrid crap. And Colton being a long-awaited child. None of that could be true, because Juan would never value a mixed-breed child the way he does his son. Especially not a witch. Those are the sorcerers and demons of the supernatural world, with a kind of voodoo you don't fuck with, unless he doesn't know. But that can't be, if he knew about this place and the research and left her here. She obviously wanted to know how she could be both witch and wolf, and find others like her for whatever reason. Maybe she wanted to know how to conceive a child without it dying. Juan had to know she wasn't pure, and that makes even less sense given how he is. Witches and seers, they're more like the humans, but with gifts that are insanely powerful. Sierra surely couldn't be a half-witch. That's crazy. She couldn't hide something like that from the pack all those years. And why doesn't Colton have any of those gifts? You would know if he could conjure magic and catch visions for sure. And then she's here. A witch has power, so why didn't she save herself? Maybe he didn't know when he mated to her. And maybe when he found out, that's why he banished her here. So the pack would never know and revolt against an alpha mated to an impure. I've never heard of anything like this. And it does explain his obsession with making sure Colton has the right Luna. Maybe he's afraid Colton isn't pure enough, and it will show in his offspring if he mates badly. Colton definitely has no knowledge of it. I would have seen it in our joined memories. None of this makes sense. Luna Sierra was in the pack for decades before she had Colton, so surely that can't be the reason Juan brought her here. He would have known. You can't hide anything from your mate. Her memories and transference when he marked her would have made sure he knew, which means he hid what she was. And after decades living that lie, Why would he then suddenly banish her to the back of beyond? And what the hell has my other got to do with any of this? My head spins with all of this. A pulse hitting in the center of my brain with overload and aching so badly, I feel like my skull might explode. I end up pacing back to the bed and falling face down on top of it with an R noise that reverberates through my entire body. It's so loud. All the doctor has done is give me more questions than answers. And I roll on my side so I can see her across the gap. The lights have shut down out there, so she's illuminated in the light from her own cell. What are you not telling me, Sierra? Why am I here? What are you, and what the hell am I? I call to her as though somehow it will give me an answer, but she remains still and silent in her cocoon-like state. And I exhale heavily, my body trembling with adrenaline as I begin to calm down, but my tears fill up my eyes. It's not sadness really, but confusion and frustration, and a gnawing pit of unease that there are things I know nothing of, which clearly have everything to do with why I was guided here in the first place. I've lost my appetite, no longer interested in the food he left, while my head is going crazy with all of this. And I know one thing for sure. I just lost my ally, chased him away, and I only have 2 days before Juan shows up to deal with me. I have zero chance of romancing Deacon in that time, even if I wanted to try. Not that I could. He physically makes my skin crawl, and I don't think I have it in me to be nice to the asshole that darted me in the back, like a white-liver-bellied coward. I cross my arms over my head and face to smother out the light and noise and gare loudly at this situation I find myself in, willing my brain to stop spinning around and turning inside out and give me a few seconds peace to get my bearings once more. It feels like it's been the longest day in history, and according to the doc, it's not even lunch yet. For the love of the fates. What I wouldn't give to be anywhere but here right now. Maybe reverse the clock. Go back to my awakening ceremony and run before I even turned to save myself from all of this bullshit that has happened since. It really was the worst turning point of my life, and I can blame all of it on the bloodline of Santo. I curse that name forevermore. I should have left a long time ago. And never waited to turn. No Colton. No imprinting. No running to mountains. And attacks by vampires playing on my mind. Just sheer ignorance of a girl running free. And turning alone. And never knowing any of these people, or caring at all. I should have found my courage to go long before I did, and saved myself the heartache. Alora? I nearly jump out of my skin at the sudden closeness of the doctor's voice, and almost topple completely off the bed as I realize he's right beside me, and my lack of wolf sense let him creep right up to me with zero warning. My heart misses a beat and almost kills me in the process. You scared the shit out of me. I impulsively snap, taking in the bloodshot eyes, the pale pallor, and the strong hint of alcohol on his breath, that I'm sure he knocked back hastily to level himself out. He looks a little disheveled and shell-shocked to say the least, and there's no sign of his female companion. Quite. He replies tartly, and I can tell by his manner that he isn't okay, or his weird British response to what I shouted at him. I manage to pull myself to sitting and eye him up warily as he stands stock still in the center of my room, staring at me as though I have two heads. He twists his hands together, wringing his fingers through one another nervously, and I give him a moment to pull himself together. There are no cameras down here. They like to pretend she isn't here, you see. The wolves upstairs. They don't venture down very often, so they don't have to acknowledge their shameless purpose of guarding this place. Lord knows we didn't need chaperones when Luna Sierra was in charge here. Just me and my staff to take care of her, mostly from upstairs. None of them were here before she was put to sleep, so they think she's in a coma and life support of her own accord, and her rich husband benefactor is paying to keep her comfortable. He walks around in a circle, and I watch him quietly, feeling the anxious waves and deep emotions coming from him intensely. I'm wary about sending him running once more, but he came back, and I have one question I need answered before we go any further. Why did you ask me about my mother, Marina? I say it solemnly, heart hitching at the use of her name, breathing in slowly and deeply to stop the spiraling emotions that run through me. And I note that my hands have started to tremble. I'm nervous, reacting in a subtle wave of anxious anticipation, like I'm perched on the edge of a cliff, and one tiny breeze will knock me off and change everything I ever knew about my life. I don't know. I can just feel it weighting down on this moment. Like I should stop, turn, and run far away. He stops mid-step of his frantic pacing and turns to me completely. Eyes wide, face serious, and he implores me with a wide-handed spread of palms, as though apologizing as the words come out clearly. She's the reason Sierra is here. Juan executed every one of your bloodline so they would never return to your mountain, and she tried to stop him. It's like every cell in my body stops as a deathly silence fills the air, shock stilling my thoughts, my lungs ceasing to move. And you can hear a pin drop as his words sink in slowly. So fucking slowly. Juan executed my family. They didn't die in battle. That's a lie. It can't be true because they weren't the only pack to never return. The entire White Line, among others, they all died protecting our kind. It was a war for God's sake, and we had many casualties. Did Juan kill them all too? The doctor has to be playing me, lying to mess with my head for some kind of ulterior motive, and I'm falling for it. Maybe it's a test to see if I'm strong enough to turn, despite being in this isolation tank. Maybe I was wrong to trust him. And this is all a ploy to break me down and get intel he thinks I may have. I take a much-needed breath as I begin to suffocate under the pressure of my own mounting emotions, realizing I wasn't inhaling or letting it go. I take a moment to let it sink in, my head spinning as my brain tries to dissect and make sense of each word and how it comes together in what he just said. I don't know how to react. Cry, rage, scream, laugh. I sit here like a numb dead weight staring at him, as though he just told me the world is ending, and we're to wait here to die. Momentarily devoid of feeling as shock fills the void. It has a different effect on my body though. And for a second, I think I might throw up. I retch, my body lurching, and as it all spins out of control, and I have to lift my heels to the edge of the bed so I can prop my head between my knees to ground myself, swallowing down the rush of salvia that clogs my throat and breathing through the waves of nausea. I'm sorry. My memory is not what it was, but the gist is that Juan was eliminating the possibility of a prophecy coming to fruition. A white wolf queen rising from the shadows to reign the people in a victorious and united future. Juan believed your mother was going to dethrone him after she proved herself a worthy warrior on the battlefield and led many a victorious attack on your enemy by uniting the packs. Your kind were losing the war, and she turned it around. Your mother, she was gifted and special and more powerful than he could ever dream of being. The kind of specimen I could only dream of being able to study. He sounds concerned, regretful, apologetic, all at once. But it's all meaningless noise and I just keep coming back to it, over and over. Juan. He killed them all. My whole family. All those that mattered to me. My past 10 years have been a lie, and I suffered not because they failed, but because he took them from me. This can't be true. Especially not if she was so powerful. Then, how did he? If she was the words die on my tongue, hastily uttered in a breath, as my brain tries to rationalize the details, as warm salty tears roll down my cheeks, and I sit absorbing a history I never knew as the pieces are laid out before me, confused with the conflicting statement to what I've always been told. And a fire of rage building inside of me slowly to overcome the icy cold that has spread through my nerve endings. It's like a drip, drip. As it's fed and allowed to grow slowly, it warms my belly and spreads across my pelvis and down my limbs. Something growing inside of me so all-consuming that I almost welcome its warm fluid expansion to my cold, empty soul. My brain just cannot seem to filter and arrange it so that it makes sense. Your father was her weak point. Just a peaceful land-dwelling wolf that he murdered to get to her. Your kind's devastating ability to kill both mates with one blow, and sadly an uneven pairing as that was her only downfall. It's a rather sad travesty. That even your strongest is only as strong as the mate bonded to them in the end, and highlights the importance of why they shun the impure. He then ordered his own subpack to hunt down and destroy everyone from the pack she was residing with in case they linked in the last moments and knew of his treason. He had to tidy up loose ends. You see, he had to cover his tracks, and only his loyal knew of what he'd done, and aided him. I inhale sharply. My heart constricting as tears bite my eyes and the words wound my soul, sliced open and ravaged with a truth that's more devastating than the one I lived for 10 years. The White Pack, none of them returned from war, as they were apparently cursed as warriors and fell at the first battle. Not strong enough, fast enough, not able to hold their own because of being weak land workers and not warriors at all. All lies. All slaughtered by Juan and his trusted, his subpack, his elders, his closest. Those he now wears like a shroud to lead from behind on the mountain. Which meant Sierra saw it all too. As his Luna, she was by his side at all times and followed him into battle. None of them jumped to defend her because they were just as guilty as her mate. Mother, my father, my brother, my grandparents, all gone at Juan's hand, and I cannot contain the fury growing within me as my mind puts the pieces together, and it all begins to add up. The return of the wolves saw everything change, and the children like me, ripped from guardians' families who had vowed to care for us, and pushed into that home. Except me. My guardians, the last of the whites, were slaughtered by vampires in the middle of the night. I now wonder if that too was a lie. We went from being cared for, cherished by wolves who opened their homes to us, all while our families fought, to being almost outlawed in a way. By Santa wolves who spread the word that the war was almost lost because of our bloodlines. They told them none of us should be revered as fallen heroes' remaining legacy, but left to fade out and kill an impure invasion on future generations. They started the second they returned, in pushing all of us into that dark side of the mountain and maintaining we were cursed. Why didn't he just kill me too? Words fail me, and I stare at the doctor as I lift my head, catching the wariness in his eye as he sees the expression on my face, and hesitates about moving away a little. My heart is pounding, my breathing shallow, and a twisting knife of pain devours me as it really does sink and course through every cell of my body that Juan did the most unthinkable thing of all, broke our own laws, and killed his own. Killed mine and my own. For what fucking reason? A prophecy about a rising wolf. A story. A fable. That hadn't even come to fruition. He thought he could overpower the fates and take what he wanted. Push things in his own way. It's almost as if the doctor can feel my questioning, or maybe it's my silent deathly manner as I sit up stock straight and lower my chin to glare hatefully across his shoulder at the Luna beyond. It's not a look for her, but at everything I'm now finding out, and I can't control it. He betrayed her, just as he betrayed his entire people. My family? He betrayed his own son. Sierra was meant to be his answer. A hybrid witch and wolf, he thought by searching out this white queen and mating her he would be assured the power he longs for. Sierra is a black wolf though, something he overlooked as a small detail. And when their tale did not push them into the path of the story he thought was rightfully his, he took matters into his own hands. The rising of your mother made him insane, and upon return from the wars, the books were scraped free of any hint of a prophecy, forbidding the shamans from teaching it to the young. He rewrote history to hide it. He pushed all trace of what he did into a coma to silence her for her own treason. His voice is tight, tension hitching, and I can taste his nervousness this time, as he does back away, shuffling out of my way to give me a clear view of the lifeless soul I'm fixated on. My whole being poised, like I'm on the verge of lashing out and ripping this room to shreds, such is the crazy hate and anger coursing through me. And I clutch the bed viciously to hold myself in check, torn between mounting fury and heartbreaking. If I could turn, I would already be ripping this facility apart with the intensity of everything I feel inside of me. A storm raging to be set free. Yet my heart aches to the point I think it may stop beating, under the force of pressure. An agony incomparable to anything, and my entire truth crumbles like ash around the ruins of my own fire. He knew Sierra was a mixed breed. He knew he's completely destroyed something, decided by the fates. He thinks he has that power, that worth. I snarl, my voice unrecognizable as this feeds my desire to combust in a tornado of destruction. I never knew I could harbor so much longing to find one man, hunt him down, and enjoy ripping him limb from limb. Slowly and painfully, I can almost taste it, such is the want to have it badly. The bloodlust coursing through me in hot waves as I start to visualize that narcissistic asshole and what I'm going to do to him when he gets within an inch of me, body bristling and goose bumping, my heart rate rising, and my lungs quickening to accommodate my fast, rapid breath. Yes, it was by design that he sought her out and traveled far to find her, sweeping her off her feet and mating to her so he could possess her for eternity. He thought he could fulfill and control the prophecy and further his own desire to rule. She was a relatively isolated wolf, naive, unloved, her own pack rejecting her because of her roots, and she fell straight into the arms of the first real love shown her way. She was known as a witch, and well, you know they're as much a wolf's enemy as the vampires, which made her a cursed and fearful species. She told me she fell madly in love and didn't find out about his ulterior motive until she had been his for many months and already bound by the mate bond. The doctor looks towards her, a sad distant glaze to his glassy eyes as he remembers their conversations, and the regret of not believing her when he should. So how did she end up here if she had powers? Witches are strong. You said she tried to stop him, so why couldn't she? I'm devilishly low-toned, controlled. The growl coming through in my voice, leaning to anger to try and avoid the pain inside of me, and I can feel my inner wolf tossing and turning with the frustrating need to be set free. It's sharpening its claws and begging to be uncaged. Chapter 92. The Past Part4. She betrayed him. By sacrificing her own life for the protection of a child who can regain the balance of things. Sierra is a seer and a witch. Yes, she has powers unlike any wolf, but they are not strong like a warrior. They are useful in ways of protection on a small scale, and she has abilities to control certain aspects of others. She's a healer, not a fighter, and she did what she thought could make a difference. Meaning. I turn to him fully and lock onto him, seeing him swallow hard, and his mistrust of my current behavior is written all over him. In this moment he's afraid of me, and he's nervously spewing words to try and diffuse it, or to keep me focused on anything other than turning on him. I can smell the terror coming in waves from him, even without my wolf sense. It's not intentional, but these feelings are bigger than me, and I have no will to reel them in right now. Fractured and seeping, and I don't know how to stop it pouring out and pooling around me like a dense smog. She got to you before Juan did. Ran and left the pack on their return to your lands. She bound her blood to you, so you became linked to her, and completely protected from being slain too, thus meaning he could never kill you. And if he tried to isolate and imprison you, then his pack would have asked why. What did a child do? All these years this story haunted me as nothing more than the imagining of a fractured mind, torn by horror and atrocity she witnessed. And yet here you stand. The child of Marina, just like she said you would. Alora, I am so sorry, please. You must understand. that had I known it was truth, I would never. His real honest despair comes through in torn rawness. But it's not my concern right now. I can't feel anything for his sorrow or his heartache, while there's only chaos and a need to avenge them all. Why can't I remember that? If she bound to me, then why don't I see her in my memory? I snap, interrupting his apologies, too caught up in my own pain and misery, and needing to hurt something, to care about him and his regrets. It doesn't change the now or how I got here. She bound your memory, your gifts, and that of her son to protect you all. For she feared Juan would see even challenge to his position in his own child, should he have inherited her gifts too. Like I said, she has certain abilities. She said the time would come when she would give back to you that which she took. I assume she means those, not just yours but Colton's too. He falters, his voice trembling, wringing his hands in nervousness, and I jump up and stalk past him to push my hands against the glass, my head torn with the addition of even more to this story. Colton has other gifts too. Bound in me. Is she the reason I can't seem to grasp my own gifts and gain any control, because I'm always fighting some kind of spell that keeps them dormant? How is that helpful? Especially now, when she's like a corpse, sleeping through the years and can't do anything to physically help. My body is aching to turn and trying to revert to Wolf. But this damn building is strong and keeping it in check, no matter how hard it wails and howls within me. I bang the glass, the torture of it getting too much, and watch the shudder traveling from my palm and spreading out the full expanse of the invisible wall. It does nothing to ease the inner war. Bound my gifts, my memories. How could she? That's impossible. I have gifts. I'm learning, but they're there, not tied down completely. Colton. He has his gifts too, and he's more than capable of using them. His alpha strength and speed, his dominance, he can command with a tone. It can't be true. No one has ever documented a witch binding a wolf's natural gifts. It's a rebuff of what he's saying as I mentally try and dismiss them as lies, focused fully on her and willing her to get up and tell me this herself, lying there like a weak, powerless fool who let her mate destroy everything in our lives. Get up, Sierra. Get the fuck up. You owe me this truth yourself, from your own mouth. It's anger at her, but it's born of fear, churning up to douse the inferno of molten rage. That all of this is too much and bigger than me. I don't want this burden of weight or this story to be mine. I want to go back to the mountain, to the home, to disappear back into the shadows and be a girl that no one noticed again. I was safe and ignorant, and it didn't hurt like this. It wasn't some precipice of danger, and had me teetering on the edge and looking down into the abyss, knowing I'm never going to be safe or okay ever again. It's all too much, and I'm only a child. 18, barely grown. I don't want this. No, my dear. Colton will carry the gifts of his mother too. Our research has proven time and again that hybrids have a mixture, every time. Just like you. His non-wolf side is in there, but bound up tight. And you are not capable of harnessing your full potential if she has bound you. The gifts are maybe strong enough to peak at times, but she was a capable witch. I don't doubt her spells served the purpose she intended. Her spells brought her a child when her body kept failing to carry Juan's seed. If she can overcome that, then she can bind a child in protection until she's ready to release you. He almost whispers it. Such is his fear of me, of being heard telling me, of these people, of Juan. And I glance his way to find him almost pressed into the corner and watching me in wide-eyed apprehension. He too knows that there is no coming back from this. Now that he's opened Pandora's box, then, how do I get her to do that, if she's over there sleeping her life away? I fix him with a stare, sniffing back watery tears. I hadn't noticed were pouring down my cheeks, my heart numbing out, and my mind moving into a state of shock once more. calming me but making that sense of hopelessness grow. I don't know. This facility has a guard count of 19, and even though none of you can use your gifts within, I'm sure you will be no match to 19 strong men. Armed ones, even if you are somewhat terrifying when mad. It's a half-nervous laugh as he tries to lighten the tension that dies on his lips as I continue to stare at him and lower my hands from the glass. As I try to pull my breathing to something less erratic and self-soothe, wiping my face with the back of my hands to pull myself together. Chapter 93. The Past Part4. You need to let me out. I need to go find that son of a bitch and show him what my mother failed to. You don't mess with my family. I can't stay here. I can't be here when he comes now. I snarl again, a spike of returning anger, knowing my emotions are clouding my judgment and all over the place, but I don't care. I was just told that everything I was led to believe, my entire childhood, was a lie, and that my bloodline was never deluded and weak. My mother was a prophesized warrior destined to lead her people, and Juan murdered her. He killed all of them. Every single person I loved, cared for, and knew as my pack. A clan of white wolves to silence us. That sniveling, slimy power mad freak slayed them all, and he's going to rue the day he chose to leave me alive. Now it all makes sense, though. Why I was thrown with the other orphans and shunned as a whole. That was our punishment for him being unable to get at me in the way he wanted. That was how he figured he could keep me down and separate from the people, so I would never have any chance of rising and leading them against him. And if I did, he could put it down to my being hateful and holding a grudge for 10 years as an outcast, and nothing more than an impure's taste for revenge at her own failings. So clever. He made sure I was alone, and didn't care if he smeared a whole bunch of innocents in the process. None of the rejects deserved to be thrown out there with me. They were just a cover to enhance and make his lies stronger, convincing the packs that our fallen heroes were cursed blood to further conceal his actions against my people. No one was going to ask questions or defend us if their own alpha was telling them that we were the failed, deluded lineage of weak wolves. He's deluded and cruel and so consumed with his own need to rule that we were all pawns and had no real value. He's no alpha. He doesn't care about the people and he never did. He just wants to rule them in whatever way he can. It must have completely enraged him to near madness when the fates imprinted me on his son. Despite all his measures and precautions of his multi-level plan, and it's all falling into place, he knew Colton wasn't loaded with a useless Luna. He was afraid that in a position of being absorbed into the pack, and as future Luna to my alpha mate, I would still find a way to rise and dethrone everything he's worked for. Juan was afraid that much like my mother, I would outshine him and tear his own power from under his feet with very little effort at all. Colton was my way in, and he did what he does to that boy to stop him from ever finding his own strength. He manipulated him emotionally. He used Colton's devotion, loyalty to his father, and his own compassion and love for his people's needs to get in his head. The fact he tore his mother away from him has always kept him to heel and lingers in the back of Colton's mind always. He was afraid I would leave our people alone like she did, leave him alone when he still needed me. He was afraid I wouldn't be strong enough, that he wouldn't be able to keep me safe. Like he wasn't able to keep his mom safe, and he couldn't accept the fate's decision. Colton was protecting me, believing the lies and the manipulation, same as everyone else, and seeing no other way. He's young, unsure about his own worth and power, and he listened to someone that's meant to guide him for the best. His faith in his father's intentions are not a flaw, just naivety that comes from a good soul. His father has been playing him since the day he was born, and his mother had to conceal who he really was, for fear his natural gifts would make him the target of his father's power hunger. My heart breaks at how angry I've been at him when seeing it from this angle makes so much sense. Colton is nothing like his father, And what he doesn't know is his father has no intention of ever relinquishing his position to his son until death takes him. I'm going to be the last thing Juan sees, no matter what it does to me in the process. I'll get out of here and I will level the balance. I'll kill that son of a bitch, even if Colton tries to stop me, because his own heart won't be able to let someone destroy his father, no matter what he did. I'm going to rip that mountain apart and shred any single wolf who knew or had a part in the demise of my bloodline. Even if Colton never forgives me, dear girl, calm down and be smart about this. Your fates wouldn't have brought you here to just leave again and go start a one-woman war. You came for Sierra. The doctor's words die on his lips as the beep of the elevator interrupts, and he flashes a look that way, panic overtaking his expression as he jumps up and shoos me away from the glass at a pretty impressive speed for a human. It's so rapid he makes me jump back from the wall in reaction. Get on the bed and lay down now. He snaps it at me, losing that feeble, weak cower he had going on, and I listen. Despite my turbulent mood, his haste and urgency moving me, I turn, take a few steps, and jump on the bed as the doors begin to make that whooshing opening noise of the elevator and approaching footsteps. And he comes to me quickly, yanking up my arm as I lay down and pushing the stethoscope from his neck under the edge of my medical gown neckline. Heart's racing, my dear. You really should practice counting to 10 and deep relaxing breaths. That kind of anxiety is not good for the heart. You're in a safe place, have no fears. He's facing me, his voice fakely joyful. But his eyes dart to the side as someone approaches the glass and I try to focus all my attention on acting normal. I've been looking for you. You're needed upstairs right now. Leave this mud alone. You have an actual job to do. Some of your fresh samples have been delivered in ice boxes. I'm sure you don't want to leave them to go bad. It's Deacon, my most favorite person in the whole wide world, and with the pulsing rage I have going on, I tense and make to sit up, instincts taking over and ready to take him on more than ever. The doctor slams his hand on my chest and aggressively flattens me down. Just a moment. He grits it through his teeth, wildly eyeballing me and mouthing the word number, that scowling frown of a paternal tell-off, and he manages to keep me under control. He gets a narrow-eyed snarl in response, but I obey and lay back down, out flat, and watch as he moves out of my line of sight and exposes Deacon on the outside of the glass. Now, we haven't got all day. Deacon snaps at him, obviously not happy when the doctor questions his authority, and I glare directly at the jerk, catching his eye and making a point of staring right through him. He takes it, no expression, and stares right back at me, not breaking contact at all. Of course. Miss Alora, please eat and dress, as it will make you far more comfortable and ready for my returning to continue our tests. We have so much still left to do. The doctor throws me an odd look, and I glance his way for a second, impulsively nodding before he turns and starts to head out, leaving me with a strong sense that was a hint. I watch him walk out, and as he gets to the door, he turns and nods at the trolley and the bag, as though reconfirming it, and I frown, unsure what he intends to do, but obedience seems like a good idea. It feels like it's been hours since the doctor left, and I did exactly as I was told. I ate the food, and I dressed in the gray sweats and sweater, put on the socks and oversized boots, which baffled me completely as to why I needed them, and all the undergarments in the bag, and now I'm pacing my cell wondering if I imagined they had any importance. Maybe he really was just being thoughtful and giving me items to aid comfort, and I was looking for something that was not there because I am so desperate for an out. I rummaged the bag and food, wondering if maybe he left some sort of something, like a key card for me, and came up with nothing except confusion, convincing myself I imagined it completely. I can't stay here like this, watching her sleep the day away, And if all he is going to do is take tests and fill me in with stories that screw up my head, then this is hopeless. I'm trying to process all of it, and I can't swallow it right now. Doing what I do best and pushing it to one section of my brain for a later date. Right now, I need to stay focused and find a way out of here on my own. When Juan gets here, I'm all but useless against him and his men, and can't do crap about anything, especially not him, as long as this damn building holds my ability to turn captive. And Sierra over there, hey, thanks for rendering my gifts useless at a time in my life that I could actually really be using them. And then getting yourself knocked out so I can't access them. Stellar planning. A seer who doesn't predict the possibility of not being able to give a girl back what's hers if your beloved mate comatoses you. What kind of seer is that? And what kind of witch binds her own child and leaves them motherless for 10 years if she saw it all coming? If Colton had the ability to see things and not been bound, maybe he could have found her a long time ago and avoided all of this. None of this was smart planning on her part. It's really messed up. I stop my erratic mind brewing and moving around, only to watch that same female come and tend to Sierra's machines, pausing my manic foot stomping around my small space as she disappears. Just as quickly without looking my way. I can sense her apprehension the whole time she's in there, keeping her eyes averted. Obviously uncomfortable. They have a prisoner down here, and I watch closely at what she does before scampering off, acting like I wasn't over here staring. Not that she did much to watch. Pressed some buttons, check some fluids, move Sierra's bed up and down, and rearrange her position to avoid sores. Prop her pillows, and turn her on her side before pressing some more buttons, changing her bedsheet, and leaving her alone again. Basic care and nothing too exciting. I guess I'm thankful they do at least show her some compassion and tend to her frequently, turning her and such. No matter how much I stand and glare like some kind of creepy psychopath at Sierra, nothing is waking that woman up. Let alone willpower. I can't imagine what 8 years in an induced coma has done to her, to be honest. What state her mind and body would be if we did wake her up, and now I'm starting to doubt if that is plausible at all. For all I know, the drugs over the years have wasted her mind to mush. Anyway, her body has been inactive for so long that I'm assuming instant recovery is not going to happen, and if she's even capable of being woken after so long, in a building where her powers have been bound, then she's mortal and susceptible to all the damage and harm an induced coma would do to a human in 8 years. Not to mention the fact she's lost almost a decade of her life, and what would coming to do to her now? Last time she saw Colton, he was a 9-year-old boy, and now he's a stocky, arrogantly handsome man. Or the making of one anyway. That is bound to mess her up and disorientate her if she wakes up, and 10 years ago was just yesterday in her mental time frame. The world has changed so much, and her mate has brought our mountain to ruin in that time. Our people are divided by class and worth, and the Santos rule with fear. Maybe I was never supposed to wake her up. Maybe she left some other way for me to get back my gifts, and I just had to find her. My train of thought is interrupted as a lunch trolley is pushed down from the elevator and left outside my door shortly after the woman exits. But the guard, another Santo-looking asshole, shrugs at me with a distasteful smug expression, butts up against the glass with his shoulder, and lets his eyes lazily walk over me. Pure creep oozing from every pore. It's the idiot who was sat at the desk upstairs when Deacon informed him I was to be fed the same meal times as the rest of the facility. I was told to give you lunch, but the doc stopped me and said you can't eat anything until he's taken some sort of sample. So, I guess I leave it here and it gets cold. Enjoy. Not that I would advise eating it later. He smirks, clearly happy with his sad position of power. A total omega wolf, low pecking order, and looking for any kind of upper hand to scrape him from the bottom. I scowl at him, the smell of steak and soup wafting through the glass, and even though he thinks he's getting some sort of power kick by leaving it out of reach, I don't even want it. I ate the food earlier, and it does confuse me that the doc would insist I ate that. And not this. It's not really been long enough to even feel hungry yet. I don't get the sudden urge to tell me not to eat now. I guess Deacon has briefed his sub-pack on who and what Juan says I am, and they are all part of the Alora fan club right now, given the way this asshole is acting. I can almost taste his dislike and the creepy way he's eyeing me up like a main course on his dinner menu, giving me bad vibes. He reminds me of that jerk Damon who used to watch me all through school and tried to get at me in a hallway for a grope and forced kiss. He was a perverted creep who liked control over girls, much like this idiot. Why don't you have it? You could obviously use some extra energy boosts. I mean, if the chase in the forest was anything to go by. I give him the same friendly passive-aggressive attitude that I give Deacon, and he grins ear to ear as though he's too stupid to realize it was a dig. Annoyingly smug. And if he wasn't such a jerk, he would be kind of cute. In the whole Colton way. Damn. I really need to stop doing that. Comparing every hot Latino to him, then finding fault because it's not him. I get it. I still give a rat's ass and I still miss him constantly, and every dark-haired, dimpled and dreamy-eyed, hot Colombian brings him back to the forefront. But God, timing. If he was Colton, he would let me out in a heartbeat, and he would never throw such a smug look at me for something so absurd. If Colton was here, he would know what to do about this whole mess. He always seems wiser, like he has the answers, and he probably would be handing this idiot his genitals back about now. I can't fault that part of Colton, even when he was a jerk in our youth. Apart from that one time he shoved me out of his way for epically tripping in front of him and his entire rabid crew, he never really went out of his way to be any kind of ass to people for no reason. He was always so effortlessly superior and seemed aloof and quiet like he was better than us. It was all in the looks he gave rather than the verbal content. But I guess he does have a sort of intimidating way about him, even when he doesn't mean it. A proper bro type who hung with his pack and played sports and walked around like Danny from the movie Grease. Everyone looking up to him and kissing his ass when he waltzed by. I guess maybe he was not very sociable with those outside of his sub-pack, because that's not who I know now in his memories. They don't show an asshole like that either. Colton doesn't like to get close to people outside his own circle. And I guess it's because he lost so many in the war, and then his own mother. He has a wall up, and he keeps everyone outside his pack on the other side of it. I guess that's why he tries so hard to make his father proud, because he loves him, even if he's not worthy of being loved. And that's not Colton's fault, that's Juan's. Colton's flaw is trying to be this perfect Santo wolf, with a weight of responsibility on his shoulders, that one day he will lead. He follows the rules, the laws, and the word of the alpha without conflict, as he's meant to, and even puts all of that over his own desires. I guess a leader does have to be that way. Ingrained greatness, where his heart can't always lead, and it only further cements the fact that he'll be the best for his people one day. But for us not so much. I get back to my previous activity. When smug Smiley Guard walks off, getting bored with my disinterest in him and go back to pacing the room and looking for any kind of tool or helpful item to get out. It didn't last long and enforces the fact he's an omega and low in the scale of things. Used to being ignored and dismissed and quietly slinks off, thankfully, as I have no mind space for ashats. I'm uptight, worn thin, and agitated about my current predicament, with so many warring emotions coming at me from my own mind. The cupboards are full of medical crap, bandages, and nothing even sharp or useful. It's practically an empty room, and anything with real weight is bolted down into concrete floors with steel pins. There's nothing at all that could be of any real use, let alone as a weapon of sorts, and I end up throwing my cushions against the glass in frustration when my anger peaks and I can't contain it anymore. I have so many swirling emotions that I don't know what to do with. A vibrating energy pulsing through my core, and I'm mentally up and down, and all over the place. 1 second, I want to cry and lie down and sob. Then the next I'm angry, furious, boiling over, and want to slash Juan into 1,000 tiny bloody pieces. For everything that brought me here, and my entire life since they went to war. Just when it feels like it reaches overwhelming levels, and I can't breathe for the suffocating need to expel this hatred physically. In the next breath, I'm calm and logical and trying to plan a way out. I can't keep up, and it's exhausting. Time alone to think and let it sink in has done nothing except get me riled and upset. And yes, I've cried buckets. I sat in a huddle in the corner for a good 20 minutes and sobbed my heart out while it felt like it was breaking all over again. Much like when I left Colton and found myself alone without him. And no choice but to keep going. Soon as the doctor left, it's all I could do. For me, my mother, my brother and father, my family, my pack. For the mate I can never have, I cried until my nose ran and I couldn't breathe. And I drenched the upper part of my gown, because I was still wearing it at that point, and the cold wet spreading across my chest on thin fabric was strangely comforting. Mirroring how my soul felt and how it was seeping into every pore, I felt hopeless, and weak, and broken, and I have no idea how to get past that. It was for Colton and Sierra too. For their pain, their loss, and this whole goddamn mess. For the life I should have had, the family I should have still been with, and the mate I would have imprinted on in another life and been allowed to be with. It would have still been Colton. That's what the fates decided a long time ago, but I would never have had to leave him, and I would be with him now, safe in his arms and calmed by his touch, guided by that wise part of him that always seems to have an idea about what's going on. Only it failed him when he needed that gift the most. I miss him so much it kills me, even if I can't get past what he's done to our bond, and I'm still broken by him. It adds to my urgency in looking around for some kind of pointer in what to do. I shake myself, and I remind myself that the girl I was, she's dead. Little Alora of the White Pack and Elrond Farm, peacefully living a carefree life. The war seen to my parents' unplanned leaving, and Juan saw they never came back. She died a long time ago, when her life was turned upside down, and it altered everything she knew. Her path disintegrated, and all those dreams and hopes, they fluttered away on the breeze. That unwanted, rejected, feeble little no one, who imprinted on a boy 10 years later, who stood in her place. Also dead, she who couldn't be allowed to love her fated mate because of what she was. She never really existed anyway. She was a lie that was fed to me and made me live under a mask of my own making because I never knew the truth. And this girl, this one right here, she's the Alora who's been holding her breath and waiting for me to find her. She's the daughter of a warrior, a daughter of a prophetic queen who was slain for her power. She's the heroine of a prophecy, and she's a goddamn white wolf with red eyes that makes her some kind of hybrid with gifts. A witch thought so powerful that she bound them until a time when she needed to get them back. A witch who sacrificed her life and the sanity of her son to protect her. She's someone to be reckoned with. She needs to find the way to bloom. That doesn't sound like any kind of weak no one to me, not a reject or unworthy of an alpha mate. And I need to own that shit. Everything I've done in my life for the past 10 years has been overshadowed by a black cloud of shame and failure and believing I was never good enough. Because they told me so. It's gone. Almost like someone lifted that lid and finally uncaged my soul. There's nothing over my head weighing me down now, and that little voice that second-guessed it all. It's dead too. That was never my voice. It was theirs. Out there in the world around the mountain. I am deaf to their sounds now, This girl, she has a right to stand up and be counted as someone worthy, and the fates, for whatever reason, led me here, and I need to see it through. They knew me before I existed, and I was part of the plan. They know what I'm capable of, and they set on my way to be sure I showed everyone else. If they got me this far, then maybe they have a plan, and I should stop fighting and listen, close my eyes, and let the fates send me some kind of message through the cosmos and the air. Because this is not how it ends. The noise of the elevator interrupts my train of thought. A noise so perfectly on cue, I blink and open my eyes, and my head spins towards the source, half expecting to Deacon strolling on in and making my day worse, if that was even possible. But it's the doctor, and he's pushing a cabinet on wheels with all manner of things sliding off the top as he dashes to Sierra's room, drawn to the wall to watch him. Suspicious of his behavior, forgetting my pep talk and all my internal boosting of confidence. He seems different somehow. Wired maybe, a little erratic in his abrupt walking around and hurried movements. He drops a scattering of implements on the floor. The noise of cascading metal and hard objects clattering and echoing in this large space as he abandons the cart outside Sierra's door and swipes the panel to open it. He stops before entering, picks them up, and throws them back on top. Scooping any more he disturbs with his ungraceful and somewhat rushed movements, and then rushes into her room and starts frantically pressing buttons on machines by her head. I can't do much else but watch. And as he starts picking up small mobile devices and sitting them on her bed, his face ashen and serious and fully focused on what he is doing, I realize he's not just checking on her, and something's up. His expression says it all, and there's no hint of gentle, jovial, eccentric doctor in this moment. He looks frayed and afraid. Even from here I can see he's sweating. His forehead blushed and shiny, and the underarms of his white jacket are beginning to darken with excessive body heat. He's in a state of panic, and I look around expecting his staff or the guards to come flooding down, suddenly worried about why. My own nerves hitching as my stomach ties itself in knots, and I end up flat to the window. Palms pressed by the sides of me against the glass, heavily breathing as I watch, anchored to my spot. Maybe Sierra is crashing. Maybe all I was to do was witness her die. God, no, please. Colton needs to see her one last time. She can't die. He needs her. I can't stand the thought of him losing her without saying goodbye. I need to know what I'm supposed to do now. The doctor unhooks her from the machine, keeping her heartbeat monitored loudly, and I hold my breath, inhaling sharply as the beep is stalled so suddenly the air becomes unbearably silent. I don't get why he would take that off, but when he yanks another box from under the bed and plugs her onto that. Instead, I exhale, slightly confused. That familiar beep starts up again, in a subtler tone from a different machine, and he moves to the next and next, replacing everything he can with smaller mobile devices. As my brain pulls together, amid my own frantic fear, and gives me a shake, he's not trying to save her, or trying to take her off the machines. He's making her mobile so he can move her. He stops. Rushes off out of sight as he heads into the elevator once more. Abandoning everything he's left in chaos, and a moment later, comes crashing back ungracefully, pushing another bed. This time it's on wheels, back to her room. I press my cheek to the cool, smooth wall in front of me, eyes locked on and heart rate hitching as it filters through. He catches me watching him, notices me with a second snap of his head, as though he didn't glance me the first time, and makes a weird wave gesture with his hands that translates to nothing. I don't understand. What? I yell back, unsure what the hell he's doing, and he does it again, waving 2 fingers in the air, which I can only assume means 2 minutes. I move back, confusion overtaking, but intrigue definitely the dominant feeling. Everything else that had been coursing through me is replaced with 1,000 questions about why he's moving her. I watch as I've nothing else to do, and over here it's all I am capable of anyway. As he struggles to get her from one bed to the other, and shakes his head in defeat, getting redder-faced and sweatier as he does. He pulls out a handkerchief from his top pocket, pats his face and puts it back, while he seems to be taking a moment to size up his plan. He clicks his fingers in mid-air like he just had a eureka moment, and then abandons her, turning and heading out towards me at speed, a complete look of determination on that furrow-browed, overly serious expression. As he dashes at me, he crosses the bay so quickly and without hesitation, opens my door and gestures me with flicking hands that I should come with him. His face is almost beetroot and soaked, and he looks like he's just run a marathon. What's going on? I eye him warily, unsure how to feel about his current behavior and trying to figure out if the doc is drunk and realize he's breathless as hell and can barely talk. He gestures again after blowing out an incoherent sound that I assume was meant to be words to follow. I shrug and do it. I don't see any reason not to. He's proven himself to be a half-decent human who isn't out to hurt me, and a voice at the back of my mind is telling me this is how I get close to her. As soon as he knows I'm with him, he turns on his heel, and we head back to Sierra. Help me. Here to here, he motions wheezily when we get in her room beside her, from her bed to the new one he wheeled over here. His voice is low and labored, and he's struggling to get sound out. Definitely been running about like a maniac before coming down here, and I can feel his heart rate pulsing rapidly in the air around me. He's composing himself as he works, but it's obvious he's not in the best physical shape. I turn my eyes to our sleeping beauty, surprised at this distance how unwell she looks, and a whole lot less ethereal. Sierra up close looks like a porcelain doll, so silently still and unresponsive, with flushed rosy cheeks on a milky pallor, dark lashes fanning her face under smooth dark brows, and I can see Colton in her features immediately. I don't argue, but take her upper arms under her armpits as firmly as I can without hurting her, and lift her over while he gets her legs. She's light in weight, surprisingly so. Nothing to her, and painfully thin as the blankets pull away and I see her body under her own thin medical gown. Her skin is almost translucent from lack of sunlight. Yet she seems so very warm and alive, and I'm convinced she's going to open her eyes at any moment. It's unnerving, and I can't stop staring at her face as we place her on the new bed, brushing her dark hair from her face as he tends to her limbs and tubes and settles her neatly. What are we doing? I whisper it back, keeping my voice hushed as it's pretty obvious with the lack of helpers. He's not meant to be doing this. As soon as he fully arranges her on the gurney, he takes a moment to inhale, calm his breathing by pressing a hand to his chest and points at the door. We're taking her and leaving. I drugged, fixed. Phew. He struggles, wiping his brow with the back of his hand, and takes another exaggerated breath, annoying me to the point of getting frustrated with his lack of vocabulary. And he tries again. I raise my brows at him and throw a and. Look his way. I drug dinner. We don't have much time. Few hours at the most. He wheezes and goes back to picking up tubes and arranging them around her in a hurried fashion. You did what? I gawp at him, this unassuming little feeble doctor that wouldn't stand up to Deacon earlier, and now it registers how quiet this place is when he's making so much noise with carts and beds and no one's appeared. My face pales as my blood drains away, and my brain catches up with exactly what's happening. He nods at the bay outside her room and motions to start pulling her bed, making it clear I'm not dreaming, and we are in fact staging a bust-out and a heist. In that Sierra is the gold, and we're taking it. I swallow hard, pull myself together, and throw a glance up at the roof, and a silent thank you to the fates. They answered my prayers. I do as he motions, tugging it backwards out the door with all my might to get it rolling, as he throws machines and such almost on top with her as we begin to move. He picks up and dumps more items on the bed as we pass a couple of freestanding trolleys, pulling the saline drip and bag feeding her fluids with him, and its trolley at the end while stretching all her tubes almost taut. I doped the soup and pretended to eat in the canteen to watch that they all did. We always eat together. Had to wait on them all passing out. To the truck over there. He nods at my shooting point, and I pull the bed and aim for it, gaining speed as we go, and he grabs the medical trolley and passing to tug behind him too, making it awkward for him to keep hold of the bed at all, and I end up pulling it alone as he deals with that, and the other wheeled necessities he's hauling, dropping things, as he does so. If this is an escape, it's a haphazard one, and he's the worst kind of saving hero ever. He's making enough noise to wake the dead, and I'm not convinced he's not going to keel over and have a heart attack with how unfit he is. He's puffing and heaving and losing more than half his weight in body sweat. And I think he might need to lie down. Humans really are a weak race. How are we meant to get out of here? We're on the lowest floor and the elevator is that way. I nod with my head in the direction we came from, a growing tight knot of anxiety that maybe the doctor's plan is not the best. He waves at the trucks again, reminding me of their presence, but I'm not sure how they will help down here. The one on the end. It's a medical truck, and that platform lifts up to the ground above. It's how we store them and transport things in and out. As soon as he says it, I spin my head, eyeing the last green military truck that looks like its half-brother was a tank, and see the gears of the platform on the space behind it. The poles and hydraulics lining the steel wall in shadow, and look up into a cavernous space that opens over your head when you get up close to them. From my room I couldn't see it, but this space goes up some 100 or more feet to a set of closed metal doors on the top ceiling. And then what? We drive around until she wakes up. I gasp, bumping the bed onto the edge of the platform, still helping while dissecting the absurdity of this, and he shoves it fully. We come side by side with the truck we are aiming for, and he motions me to keep it going to the rear. I eye him warily. Real tension ripping through me as panic rears its ugly head at his lack of a proper plan. Yes. Sounds right. She's been in a coma for 8 years. We need time. I need to wean her awake, and even then, I've no idea what state she will be in, physically or mentally. All I know is we can't stay here and do that without getting caught, and I owe her. I won't fail my friend again. The doctor has regained some of his equilibrium and leaves the bed with me to go run to a metal cabinet on the wall, which houses keys, and scoops up a set, coming back to open the truck and motions to bring the bed around. So, what you're saying is, there's no plan beyond getting out. It's a dry, non-amused response, and I stare at him as everything inside of me grips tight. I have to swallow down the rising panic, and he half-heartedly shrugs at me. I'm a doctor, not a masked villain who kidnaps people for a living. I figured your fates would somehow, I don't know. Help, I mean you came, and you're here. Oh my God. It's the only response as I have as words fail me. And I bite down on my lower lip and try to focus everything on helping him, and not the fact that after we get out I have no goddamn idea what we're meant to do. The guards won't sleep forever, and they will come after us. At speed, with guns, and lots of them. And in Form 1, we make light work using the ramps inside the truck to get the bed and trolley in, and he braces them in place with special metal clamps, hanging her saline bag on a hook coming from the interior wall, and pushes the mobile one into a corner, and ties it down. He pushes the devices into clamps and clips along the wall parallel to her bed, and settles everything freestanding into holders, or ties them in place expertly. Making light work as I can only stand and frantically race a million ideas through my head about what we're going to do. I have a cabin, my home, I guess. When I'm not here, we should go there and try and get her to wake up. They'll track us, but we have a good head start, and I don't know if we can lose them. No one knew about my cabin. It's a weird little look. A half-happy he came up with a plan, with a heavy dose of please tell me. That's a smart idea. I can only shake my head and stare. He's not thinking this through, or really envisioning how well a wolf can track, or how much faster they can be on foot when needs be. They won't just dawdle when they find Sierra and me gone. They will come tearing after us like demons on the warpath. And Juan will too, with his 4 crazy loyal subpacks, who annihilated my entire bloodline and got away with it. There's no being safe. In some cabin, in the middle of God knows where. That won't work. You've no idea how well they can hunt us. And Sierra, if Juan killed people to keep his dirty secret silent, then he's going to send a tsunami after her to make sure we don't wake her up. I point out, tucking Sierra's blankets in tight to hold her neatly while he applies straps over her body to keep her in place. All I can do is keep helping. Even if nausea is almost strangling me with so many possibilities and ways to die at Juan's hands. Well, do you have a better idea? We need to protect her until she wakes. We need to find a place we can fortify. I don't know people outside of these walls. I can't fight or shoot an army of wolves. No place can be fortified against a pack of angry lichens. Especially not when all you have is a bound wolf, who can't use her gifts unless in serious threat, a human aging unfit doctor and a sleeping witch. We are so screwed. I rack my brains, trying to think of a million places I passed these past weeks alone, and how none of them are any good to hide, and no amount of hiding will stop them tracking us. It was different when I ran. I was solitary, and only Colton had reason to follow, and I had a couple of days head start to let my scent fade to nothing. Colton. Of course, I can't believe how stupid I was not seeing the most obvious answer to this question. Of course, the fates would bring me full circle and back to him. They've never stopped tormenting me mentally when it comes to that boy, making sure I couldn't forget him if I wanted to. This is why. This moment of need. Colton's mom. Colton has an undying love for her and a need to find her. He also has a subpack, and some fierce-ass wolves who would do anything for him. One of the fiercest in the valley. Colton is our protection, and I just need to get outside to link him, so he knows I need him. We need him. Yes, I do. I have her son, and he has a pack, and I know he won't leave me to fight this alone if I tell him I have his mom. He won't fail her. He's been looking for her. I know his heart. And it's not like Juan's. You can trust him. Even after 10 years with his father. The doctor flashes me a wary look, and I nod with no hint of hesitation. I know why he would query it, assuming under his father's guidance that he might have twisted his son into a mini-clone in all these years. But Colton is far stronger than I ever gave him credit for. He is his own mind, and he doesn't agree with how Juan hurts his people. Colton won't let me down. If he knows I need him that she does, he'll come. I have no doubts in this. We're linked. It's not hard to find him. Unless the fates took that from me when he marked Carmen, but I guess I'm going to find that out. I don't think they would be so cruel in taking away something like that when I really need to use it to get Sierra out of this place in one piece. The fates in all of this have been trying to address the balance and bring us back to what Juan destroyed. Okay. Once we get free of the building, you should be able to use your gifts. So, I tell you where we are and where we are going, and he can possibly help. Plan? Yes. I think so. I don't fancy dying tonight, so we better make it snappy. The doctor is starting to lose his adrenaline rush, his panic panting, and instead seemingly in the regret and what have I done, but to hell with it mode. He ushers me to the front of the truck, pulling the doors shut behind us, and he locks them in place from the inside. I can walk straight through with crouching, in the dark confines of the small space to the front seats, and sit down in the passenger side with a quizzical look aimed right at him as he too gets settled in his driver's seat. How do we go up if we're in here? I point out, assuming he forgot that minor detail of the fact we're underground, but he picks up a very heavy-duty-looking radio device from the dash and waves it at me. This is a very high-tech and expensive facility. They like remotes, boy toys. He presses a button in the center of the military green controller, and I almost have a heart attack when the entire platform shunts into motion, jerking us harshly, and begins to lift. Not just this one truck, but with all three on the entire floor, and we slowly start to raise up and leave the bay level behind. This is when my panic sets in and nerves get the better of me as I realize our escape is probably going to go down in the history of worst ever attempts. It's louder than hell, crunching and groaning and echoing around us like crazy and probably scaring off all the wildlife above ground in a 3-mile radius. I hope to God he was right about knocking those guards out, because otherwise they are definitely going to know we are running away. I cover my ears, cringing and recoiling into my seat, and have to resist the urge to shut my eyes in the hopes. This is a bad dream. Once we get up there and out into the open, the building no longer has any bind over you. The walls work on some sort of ingrained frequency that's impossible for us to hear. But out there it doesn't work. It has to surround you. You see, the doctor yells over the noise, telling me facts about something I currently couldn't care less about. But it hits a nerve and I sit up, blinking as my attention peaks. A frequency? I turn to him, startled. Some memory from before, tingling at my brain, and I don't know why that's important, but I feel like it should be. My moment of fear dissipating when suspicion starts hiking up inside of me. Yes. Years of research has shown that certain frequencies alone are some of the biggest weapons against your kind's gifts. Truly fascinating. We stumbled upon it when looking at some's ability to emit ultrasonic sounds as a weapon. That's it. The weapon. The one the vampires used to attack the home, and it was frequency-based too. I blink at him, not sure if I am piecing it together right or if I'm way off. The doctor is off on a nervous tangent, babbling away like a runaway cart as a reaction to stress, I guess. And I have to butt in on the meticulous details of frequency being used to detain and disable my species. Did Juan ever use this facility to make any sort of portable isolation tank that throws out the frequency instead of putting it in the walls? Clutching at thin air as I try to fit together puzzle pieces. I don't know belong together. I don't know how that would fit, given they almost killed me too and in turn would have killed Colton. But it seems a little too coincidental that this is how an isolation tank is made. No, my dear, but he did sell the research a few years ago, claiming it was a profitable but overall harmless discovery. The doctor casts me a confused look and I can tell he has no idea what I'm talking about. Harmless. The vampires attacked our mountain using a frequency to disable us all from turning. I almost died because of that stupid black box. And if Colton hadn't, I shudder at the memories, warmed slightly by the notion that Colton is where I'm heading once more. And even though it's stupid and I should hate him, there's a tiny ray of hope inside of me. An aching to go back to him, my own stupid weakness kicking in. And finally, after weeks of being heavy and hurt, it's raising a tiny little beam of sunshine in my dark days. It was turned into a weapon by vampires. I thought their kind were long driven underground and no longer a threat. Forgive me, my dear. We don't get any kind of news here. The doctor's clueless, and the shock evident on his face, eyes wide, mouth gaping slightly as he takes that in and looks out of the window in front of us as he wraps his head around it, resting his hands on the wheel of the truck and shaking his head so very slightly. A month back. Take or give. Maybe longer now. I don't know. I lost track. They attacked out of the blue and sent the mountain into chaos. A war is coming, and the wolves are all being dragged back to the mountain for Juan to control. I sink back in my seat and watch as we climb the last few feet, climbing the darkness while surrounded by eerie tones of groaning and grinding, and I try not to think too much about how high we are on this rickety-sounding platform. The roof begins to open up, and the dull gray of an ending day peeks through the cracks and makes me aware I'm about to taste fresh air once more. The urge to leap out and feel it on my skin distracts me, and I turn to face the now silent doctor instead, using a device not too dissimilar to what we created. And they attacked Juan's mountain and his people. He mumbles more to himself than me, and I can tell he really did not know. I can almost taste the suspicion in his tone, as he too comes to a conclusion I thought about, but realize it's stupid. And I'm letting paranoia and hate cloud my judgment. Yeah? But if you're thinking Juan had something to do with it, then 1. We hate vampires, so no. Unlikely he would coerce with them. And 2. Colton saved me when I was almost toast. If I died, then Juan would have lost his son and heir, and no? That's just no. I don't care what kind of monster he is. He puts Colton on a pedestal and always talks about his ruling one day. He wouldn't let his own son die, no matter what. I do believe his legacy is the most important thing next to being king of all he sees. He only has one son, but hear me out. If Colton died, then Juan would have had reason to tie up his people in his control and use the attack to rally the wolves to unite as a pack. If he fabricated a war, or even gave them the means to start one, then it all plays into what he wants to be. Uniting the packs against a war and thus forcing his position to fill what the prophecy wanted. A wolf to reign the people. He's still so obsessed that it should be him. My blood runs cold, and as crazy as it sounds, it starts to fall into place. The doctor has a point, and yes, Colton dying would push those loyal to Colton to rally with Juan in avenging his death. A common enemy is a great way to instill fear and make the people look to a leader to save them. Something doesn't sit right with it though, and I'm trying to decipher it. You think he enabled the vampires and prompted them to hit the orphanage in the hopes Colton would die when I did. As a catalyst to get the people under control and mounting an arsenal. I'm instantly nauseous. My skin prickling with goosebumps, and my breathing gets shallow as I try and swallow this all down. Even for Juan, it seems insane, but then he did cull an entire bloodline for his chance at taking a crown. The doctor nods his head, looking up as our freedom comes into view, with an increasing grinding and crunching in the mechanics. And he starts the engine with the turn of a key, the truck roaring into life, and vibrating through the seat under me as I reach around and pull on my seatbelt. So eager to get out of here. I'm almost bouncing in my seat with nerves. He sedated his mate and left her to rot. You tell me if killing his son to maneuver an outcome is something he would do? He went to war against them and lost so many of his people. He hates the vampires with a passion. It doesn't make sense. He wouldn't willingly negotiate with them, but it does make sense that he didn't care who he sold the research to, and maybe it came by their way in another avenue. Maybe the vampires took it or bought from whomever Juan sold it to. There's something just not there that I feel I should see. And it's leaving a hole big enough to cast serious doubt, as much as I want to tar him with that brush. A war against a people that should never have happened. Lycans and vampires used to dwell in peace, not so long ago. The doctor sidetracks me with a ludicrous statement, and I frown his way, half snorting at his gross misinformation. No, they didn't. I don't know who told you that story, but I can assure you, we've been mortal enemies since the dawn of creation. We were never peaceful allies. They taught us that in school, and for the life of me, I have never heard any other version. It's ludicrous to imagine our two species living on the same lands and not tearing each other's throats out. No, my dear, that's not true. Sierra was very good at her history and very vivid in her tellings her people, the witches, as her mother was, predate the first of either of your kinds. They tell the stories among their own. The doctor lifts his brows in a paternal manner, nodding towards me as though in this he is 100% certain, and I can't grasp it. It's all we were ever taught, that the vampires are the enemy and always have been. So, what are you telling me? We used to be friends. Had morning coffee and bake sales together? I almost laugh at that, sarcasm kicking in, and as we finally hit the upper ground, he throws the truck in gear and reverses its speed right off of the platform, and then backs us into a clearing in the middle of the dusky forest we find ourselves back in. We're already outside the compound, further than the dirt road that came up to the fence, and I realize we are a fair bit from that completely. Underground must spread wider than I figured it did, and he hits the makeshift road and puts his foot to the gas, heading out and switching on headlights to illuminate where we're going. The sun has not yet set, but the forest is gray and shadowy, and I have to cling onto my seat as I bounce around on the rough terrain, trees hitting the windshield and roof as we skim under low branches. I cast a glance behind us to check on Sierra, and although the insides of the truck are rocking and bouncing around like mad, she is secured, and her machines are still beeping away, all the tubes swinging wildly. She seems okay. The lichens were the daylight guardians of the vampires, and in turn the vampires protected wolf lairs in the darkest hours. They were created to complement and protect each other, not war and fight. It's why you're almost matched in power and gift. Each with a special unique gift, of course, but neither meant to be used against one another. A peaceable arrangement born at conception between lightwalkers and dark, both with different needs and not even a shared food source, so no reason to feud. Your kinds were from the same lands and some even procreated. A bite from either side can kill the other, so it's not exactly smart to start raging fights with an enemy who only hints at your demise every time. I return to facing his side profile as he watches the road closely and maneuvers around falls, logs, and debris, focusing all my disbelief on the side of his head. Procreate now, I know you're insane, and you need to up your meds, Doc. A vampire and a wolf had babies. Nah, now I know you're high. That's definitely not a thing. There is no such thing. We're enemies and always were. It's a half laugh, shaking my head in humor disbelief as I turn in my seat to face the fast flyby of the forest, completely convinced he has a screw loose somewhere. The doctor throws me an alarmed look that I catch from the corner of my eye, frowning and screwing up his face like I'm the crazy one, and almost swerves us into a tree before looking back and saving us the near-death impact. That makes me jump, fiercely snapping my eyes to him in a bit of watch, where you're driving gasping and panting for breath after that near miss. My stomach is now lodged in my throat, and I brace my legs against the dash and push myself back in the seat to attempt to calm down. My wolf hasn't yet figured out she can come out to play. Now we are free of the facility, but another fright like that and she won't hesitate. So tired of shredding and losing clothes, and it would be awkward sitting nakedly with this man, Alora. Yes, it's hard to digest, and like I pointed out in the case of Colton, crossbreeding is not always successful given your masterful DNA and its ability to heal, much like the vampires can, but how can you disbelieve when you are sat here? The very proof of that union, your own genetics are waving their hands at you and saying, "Here I am." He blanches at me as though I'm being completely preposterous, and his words are like a punch in the gut, spinning me to him, eyes gawping wide at what he said. What? That's not the response I expected from him at all, and I blink at him, my mouth open and frown intensely. I thought you said I was witch and wolf. I let it out slowly, precisely, as I remind him of how stupid what he's saying actually is. No, my dear, I said. You were a hybrid. Assuming your mother was a perfect half and half without knowing her history, of course, but it was very clear from your turning what you are. You're white. Witches generally make black wolves. Like a kind of racial thing, I guess. You know, like humans, where Latino and white make semi-Latino? and then a white and white human makes white. Add in a splash of color, and their babies' shades are wonderfully diverse. Vampires, however, lack of sun and being the undead, fascinating in biology, by the way. They make white. Interestingly, though, in all hybrids where wolf DNA is present, they're always the prominent characteristic. Amazing, strong genetics, the wolves, and in some rare instances, where the vampire gene is equally strong. But yet, still of no match to that powerful beast. The babies are lucky enough, gifted enough, down the generational tree to have red eyes. Remarkable. He's way too pleased with his storytelling. And the utter joy on his face only heightens the horror on mine. I don't know if my mind leaves my body completely, or if shock and a sense of numb knocks me for six, but I swear, I have an outer body experience and get so close to passing out as I just stare at him, blankly, deadpan, not even remotely able to react to that little tidbit of information, that I say nothing at all. I'm a vampire hybrid. No. Just no. The doctor's voice waves at me from what seems like a very distant distance away, and I realize how in my own head I've drifted in my state of numb. We're still rumbling along this dark makeshift path, carved through the dense forest, and I was so zoned out in my own mind I completely faded to dark. My cheeks are damp with the tears that sprung out of me, and I'm staring blankly ahead. In a state of disconnect, ahead. Like everyone I know suddenly died a horrible death. Again, and I had to watch. I can't be one of those. Those creatures. They killed everyone in the orphanage. It's a soft, pitiful, whispering tone, and I can't bring myself to look at him. My head's so full of confusion, pain, and questions. And I keep picturing Colton's face, his dimpled smile, and those deep, dark, sexy eyes, and what he's going to think when he finds out. Meadow, the sub-pack. How will they look at me now? I'm the enemy, and I've been among them this whole time. Alora. Those beings were not always the bloodthirsty wolf murderers you view them as now. Vampires serve a purpose in the grand scheme of things too, and their kind has as much validity as the wolves. There are those among them, much like your kind, who are peaceful and land-loving as some of the wolves are. They don't even hunt humans, and very much never wanted for the battles and wars to happen. A feud so ridiculous, the history books fail to record it properly, and no one really knows why the species raged a war against one another in the first place. It's a forgotten cause. You are not a creature, and this does not change who you are inside. You are the same fearless girl sat before me that you were 10 minutes ago. I break down and sob, falling forward to cradle my face in my palms and try so desperately to catch my breath, to calm the storm of feelings hitting me hard and twisting me up inside. It isn't fair. And why do I get to be so lumbered with every kind of bullshit the fates can throw at me? What did I do to deserve any of this? They won't see it that way. Don't you understand? I sit up, snapping to face him with fresh tears rolling down my face, dripping from my chin as my heart breaks all over again. Soul ripped wide open. The pack can't ever accept me if they know, and Colton, he'll be disgusted with what I am. He fought them, he killed, and survived that war too. He hates them with a passion that's unmatched. That much was obvious when he ripped the head off the one who had me in its clutches and threw it high over the orphanage wall. I feel nauseous even trying to conjure up how he's going to react, or even how he's going to look at me. I can't bear to pull him into my head and see his face change from that cute boy, cheeky happy, into something hateful and deacon. Like seeing me as some crude mashup of vile parts. Disgusted by my existence. Dear girl, you said the boy imprinted on you. That means you share the purest kind of love there is, so special. And I'm sure that means he'll accept it as part of who you are. Especially if he takes after Sierra. It doesn't define you. You are that same girl. Besides, he has to figure out he's half witch, and I know from wolf lore that's as bad. And he might have to get over that with a little more effort than your news. The doctor shrugs at that, as if to point out Colton will probably have bigger issues, and I shake my head at him. Why me? It's not really a real question, more of a verbal despair, and I sink back against my seat, lifting my head to stare at the ceiling above us, and try so hard to pull myself together. Sniffing back the emotional breakdown to stop crying like a vulnerable idiot. None of this is going to help our current situation. And as much as I want to scream and rip that part out of me, I need to put it aside and focus on the now and our bigger issue. We're in need of protection, and I need to link Colton to get it. I don't even know what to say to him, or how, especially now with this foremost in my head. Scared about how that's going to go, and I don't even know if the link will work, or that he hasn't blocked me on his end too. Maybe because you're important and being part vampire gives you something that adds to the prophecy. Your fates always have a reason. Isn't that what your kind say? Maybe there's a reason you are that. And Colton is half witch. Imagine the tribrids to come from your union. Your children will be 3 strong species combined, if your body allows them to come to fruition. That's simply mind-blowing. I don't think there's ever been such a breed. The tinge of excitement in his voice inevitably pushes that knife he's stabbing me in the heart with a whole lot deeper. There's going to be no children and no goddamn union. Colton marked another, so that part is over. I snap it, alarmingly hostile, sitting up poker straight to glare at him as that extra searing pain rips through my chest at a speed of knots, reminding me of all the reasons I was mad as hell at that asshole in the first place, and why I haven't reached out to him since I left. Screw you, Colton. You weak-ass daddy's boy who should have just manned the fuck up and realized this was bigger than us. I was the one, not her. How could you? I don't really mean it. Well, almost not fully, but I'm still completely devastated that he betrayed our bond. No matter the reason, even if it was justified in the grand scheme of things, I don't think I can ever forgive him for wounding me in this way and destroying what was meant to be a perfect union. Oh dear. Are you quite sure Ma? Yes. Quite sure. I snap, mimicking his English accent haughtily and cutting him off. Like I wouldn't know that pain hitting me in the chest and almost killing me that day and what it was. Have still not recovered fully and carry that weight constantly like a heavy shroud to eternally remind me I'll love someone I can never have. He's riling a very tender and open wound. And it's doing nothing for my mood. I see. So, if he has another, how do you know you can? He gestures at his temple, locking eyes on mine, making circular motions and implying mind link. I roll my eyes, exhaling to curb this sudden need to punch things and getting rattier by the second. Tension rising, making me all sorts of stiff and uptight. I have to hope. Snarking at him, gritting my teeth, mood getting sensitive with the current topic of conversation. I know it's a genuine concern, given that Colton is key to us getting out of this and surviving. It's just I'm scared to try now, while everything is so new and raw. I'm out here, and all of this has smacked me in the face at once. Add that to the gaping gash of heartbreak he rubbed salt into. And you have one completely irate girl who isn't pulling herself together as quickly as her life is unraveling.